Got one in the room. Yeah. How is everybody? Looks like we're live. One-Eyed Cat Dong was here really early, and Dean Stevenson. Buff is listening in, driving to work. Mohawk's here. Buff Del Campo, the Buff Del Campo. Turbo Tom 416, Auto Salvage Outlaws. How's it going? Colleen Tebow, Heavens Mopars. Scott with an S. Let's see here. Cope is in the house. Glad you're here. Greg McDonald. I see hi Kim. I don't see Kim here. Anyway, Landon's Custom Classics. All right, got a little good crowd already. Spencer's here. All right, well, they're starting.
We look like we're all around a campfire.
Oh, maybe we are.
It's like, warming up. How's everybody? Yeah.
Pure Pontiac Garage. All righty. Yeah, so we're doing this live. We were at PRI. Now we're down the street from PRI, what, 4 miles?
4 miles. If you hang a left out of my driveway and do not hang a right or left, you're going to crash into PRI.
Big Block 402, Stephen is here. Big Block 402. So at the No Name Nationals, we give away awards like Worst Oil Down.
Gotcha.
And Stephen there won it. He sent a connecting rod into orbit,
Yeah.
and I have it on for my studio wall.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's him. My mom is here. Thanks for watching.
Oh,
he also drained out like Exxon Valdez.
Yeah. We have a Cummins diesel down there we call the Valdez.
We had a guy literally do the electric slide in the oil on the track. Most of the old parts and Russ Patrick is here. Dakota's here. My aunt is in the house. See, my mom and her sister, they watch this. It's like television for them.
They've got to get online and call all their friends, say, look what my baby did. He's online.
No, it's just them. Big Belly Racing is here. Robert Magny. Levi's Backyard Performance. He was here at PRI also.
Well, hell, why are they here? I mean, if you're in town, we're not going. I mean, which one of you guys are going home tonight? So, well, don't worry about those guys.
Levi was with you guys last night, right? Yeah.
Hey,
same hotel.
it took 2 minutes. It took us 2 minutes to get Dakota says huge Dukes.
Oh, man.
There's a chance it'll come up.
It might come up.
I don't know.
I'm the guy that has all the actors' phone numbers in my phone, so we give John Schneider a call. Be like, hey, what's up?
Cherry Racing is here. Smoke Wrench Garage, Punisher Le Mans, Jackie Abbott, so the boss, most of the old parts and the rest.
Gotcha.
Wife Jackie's here.
Sure.
Everett Maui Man. All right, everybody file in. I like to give them a few minutes to be tardy, but so we're in town for PRI. You guys can see we've got Professor P here. We've got Dallas over there. Clint Street Machines. We've got both of the hacks, Two Hacks Garage. You get that question at least once a month. Who's the other hack? Well, there you go. Check it out.
There's
the other hack. And our guest today is Travis Bell.
That's me.
So you guys may be familiar with him from VinWiki, Cannonball Run Ambulance, Discovery of the First General Lee, the only free guy who chooses to stamp license plates. We'll talk about that.
Without any felonies yet, I'm working on it.
He is working hard on the felonies. This is his shop, and since he lives 4 miles from the venue, we thought we'll do our live right here.
Yeah.
This is cool stuff. So, yes, we've already got one question. Oh, and by the way, Elizabeth Polito, boss, she is here. Checking up.
CEO of your life is what it is.
All right.
Well, you've outkicked your coverage.
All right. Unfinished Project is already. He's a very cryptic guy.
All right.
You never see his face. He's like Wilson, from Home
Sure,
Improvement.
Home. Yeah, we do that license plate.
Yeah. That's right. So that license tag, what is that?
Don't have a clue on that.
I actually looked that one up. I was trying to figure out because he posted that a while back.
Yeah.
No, he did that before.
It was something. It was something to do with script, and it deleted something. I remember.
Try to delete your YouTube channel.
It might. He's pretty cryptic.
Yeah.
And he usually posts dart sport like this guy's doing because of my dart sport. YouTubers are an eccentric bunch.
Yeah.
But it's a barrel of fun.
Makes you weird.
MM78 Mopar Den, Auto Salvage Outlaws. All right. They're all here now. So, anybody have any particular questions for Mr. Bell or any of the other fine gentlemen in attendance?
Yeah, lay it on us. We may end up between the 6 or 8. I went to Perry Meridian, so I can't count. But once I ran out of fingers, I'm real screwed.
There's Mrs. Street Machine.
Yeah.
Check it out. You see what it is? They're all out of town, so why they're all checking up on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're really here.
We'll give them a doctor's
Just
note.
disclaimer: this was pre-recorded. We're at a strip club right
Well,
now.
they're hanging out with me, so everybody knows they're not getting in any trouble because I'm the most boring guy.
Well,
There's
remember,
no
I was
chance
a
of
disc
getting in
jockey
trouble.
for 26 years, so I can get in anywhere we need to.
I was a drummer for.
Yeah.
Well, here,
I was a
here's,
drummer. I was a marching band guy, so that's how I became a disc jockey.
here is the first question.
Like a disc jockey on a radio station kind of deal.
Yes.
Oh shit! I didn't know.
Come on, man.
That's a voice.
Yeah, I can turn it off if I'm talking to my kids. But
Dang, I did not know that.
yeah, so what's Punisher got here?
He wants to know, is that a Geo
That,
Tracker?
believe it or not, is a one-owner, 82,000-mile, 1993 Geo Tracker. I had a 91 right out of high school, and mine was yellow, lowered on hammers. And is that one yellow, lowered on
That
hammers?
is yellow lowered on him.
So I just recreated the same car or tracker that I had. And out of all of the things in the garage, whenever we drive it, you wouldn't believe how many people are like, damn, he's actually got a rust-free tracker that it still runs, and it still does
On hammers.
on hammers.
And you
Lower.
know, there's a NASCAR over there, and the first car I went to go look at was that one.
Yeah, it's the only surviving car from the very first Brickyard 400, and he's running to the tracker.
Actually, this garage is probably the coolest freaking garage I've ever seen in my life. The first thing everybody ogled was none of that stuff you're seeing right now. There's some killer BMX bikes.
Oh yeah, there's like old video games, and there's
Miss Pac-Man and Galaga right there.
well, you didn't do bad on high school on that too. So.
Well, Dakota's Timeout has the first Dudes Has a Question.
Yep.
We'll cut him some slack. And by the way, he got the name Dakota's Timeout because I used to time him out in live streams.
Oh,
He
gotcha.
got timed out so regularly, he made a channel called Dakota's Timeout.
There you go.
And he asks, they say, whoever they is,
Yep.
they say only 17 remaining General Lees. I've heard some say there's more out there.
Probably.
Any idea?
Yeah, there's probably about 22 or 23 of them. Warner Brothers released 17 to Wayne Wooten. So Wayne Wooten used to have the Dodge Charger registry, and they formed a business or a corporation, and they went with Warner Brothers and bought the last 17 that Warner's had on the lot. Warner Brothers kept 2 of them, so that's 19. I found 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of them since then. So they have specific markings on them and things. So since then, there's probably real world. There's probably 22 or 23 of them left. But they all, I mean, any show car, gorgeous looking General Lee, they all look terrible. So they all have had pretty difficult lives. And Dodge never built an airplane. So
Yeah. Everett is asking, what model are the red truck?
So this red Toyota, there you go, that one over there. It's a 1985 Toyota SR5 pickup truck, 5-speed. It has every option you can get in 85. Even has cruise control and a sunroof factory, but it is a manual. It was built possibly overseas, brought to the United States, and it is a true Ferrari. It's not a truckster roast or anything. It's everything on it is real Ferrari parts. So that's our project. Maybe not this summer. It'll probably have to hang out for another year before we get to it, to put it back on the road.
Let's see. Leighton Welding has sneaked in here. The Mofo Driver. Let's see here. And they all like to greet each other, which is a good habit.
Yeah.
So one thing that they probably aren't going to ask about because they won't have any idea is this thing in the back here behind Jeff. And that is interesting.
That's a shop vac. And so, yeah. Well, and it's also this is, everybody's garage is a catch-all in the winter. And currently we're in the catch-all garage right now. This is a 48 by 40 building. How many cars are in here now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we backed out a couple. But there are 3 different buildings on the property that hold cars. And currently this is the only one that's heated, that's catching everything. But the one that's underneath the Winston Cup car is a 2009 Holden Ute, and there's probably about 30 of them in the States now. This one is legal. It's been converted to left-hand drive, and 443 useless horsepower. It'll haul the mail and truckload of mulch at the same time if you wanted to. But that's my daily driver, 178,000 miles. We drive it all the time. And it's if you do not like questions, do not drive it, because everybody at every stoplight wants to know if it's the new El Camino, and it's still not the new El Camino.
Irish Outlaw Garage has an important question. What model vacuum?
That is a rigid, like one you would buy at Home Depot, and that's the second one because the first one caught fire. So it's a rigid one. So yeah, big thumb up review on that one. Yeah.
Here's an important question that you have more insight on than
No, it's
probably
not. I can tell him already.
Okay. So tell us the scoop on the color.
So if you want to just end the question with any generally question, say what colors are generally, if you just say orange and walk away, that will save you miles and miles of questions. So there were 3 different possibilities. Of course, everybody thinks it's Hemi orange. Hemi orange on camera looks brown. Hugger orange is a little too brilliant. And when they would film the car, they wanted it to be a real dull orange because you would have the reflection of the camera crew as it would fly by on camera. So they wanted a really dull, like a goldy orange. If you painted 1975 to 1978 Corvette Flame, which is they call it Flame Red, but it's orange. It's got a lot of gold in it. You can get rid of it and be done with it, and you'd be on the money. But the true color is TNT Express, and there is a shipping company overseas that is called TNT Express. And if you paint your General Lee TNT Express, that is the factory used color for the General Lee, or screen used color. For the
and you came through that by analyzing.
I owned the very first General Lee and had the trunk lid, and we took it and had it with that cool little 3M camera or whatever, and it spit out the formula for it, and it came back as TNT Express. But I painted my General Lee 78 Corvette Flame, so. But there's nobody that's going to walk up and go, that's the wrong color. But like, what color's your General Lee? And they said, well, I don't have one. And then that's a hearty fuck off at that point.
Now, one thing that we have to settle, and that is because I found different information, different places.
Sure.
On the restoration of Lee 1.
Yeah.
And because I have a bet to lose.
All right.
How much of the original unibody
cars
was
left.
used?
Okay, so, and remember when we restored it, there was no, what's the name of the company that makes the quarter panels and everything?
AMD.
And there was no AMD when we restored the car. That was not around. There was still good mark and everything that you can get trunk plans and everything from back then, and they made a front balance, but there was no AMD. So when we had the car here, actually in here too, there was only so much you could do with a car that had jumped 18 feet in the air and 81 feet long on a unibody car. The transmission tunnel had folded over the top of itself because it landed through and crushed through. So everything in the front, all the way to the firewall, all the way to the A-pillars is all original, but then all the inner structure is all original too. The inside of the roof rails and everything was all pulled, and it's all inner structure. We bought another complete 1969 Dodge Charger since there was no AMD at that time. And it was somebody's lowrider project for some reason, which I have no idea why they did that, but it was a perfectly rust-free Charger. So then we were able to use the clips and the pieces and the parts off of that one. So everything, the whole inside structure in the car is the original car. The whole firewall, the whole K-frame, well, not K-frame, but everything that holds everything up front is all real. But everything from about, well, and the doors where they slam was all the same. So let's say we rear clipped it, and because there was nothing left of it, they put a half a ton of cement in the back end of it to make it fly. So when it came out of this, it slammed the trunk to the ground. And so I would say, if I had to give a percentage, there's at least 45% of the original car left, but it has the original motor, it has the original trans. It has the motor and trans that flew are powering the car right now.
Travis, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
On that? Is that the one that was the 383 Pilot car?
Yep, it's
that
a
they
big
offset the way with concrete and jumped it that you see in the clips?
Yep. So
That's
they would,
the one from the beginning.
yeah,
Yes,
the
yeah.
opening episode. So
That's
they would,
what I thought. All
they
right.
would
It was
put a
very
jack in the middle of the car, and of course it would jack up nose first, and then they would pour quickcrete or place sand in the ass end until it leveled out, and said, "We'll see you on the other side." So that's how the science of it.
So
Yeah.
the frame rails front original,
Yep. Also,
rocker panels.
yeah,
Maybe not
the
the
rock.
skin, but the rockers.
No, the rockers are original. On the underneath the doors, the doors were replaced, of course.
Firewall.
Firewalls in the same
So
car.
A-pillars.
Everything, all the vents are the same. Everything back, even the structure that holds there's a goofy plate that goes between the window and the trunk lid. But anyhow, that's original too. So, but like roof skin and everything's all been replaced. I mean, you had to.
Right.
But if everybody goes, oh, Travis tore apart the original General Lee, there's blah blah blah. They reskinned the Statue of Liberty, but everybody still calls the damn thing the Statue of Liberty.
The way, guys, yeah, I lost this bet with Cope, and I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. I said I'd be really happy to.
Sure.
But the way the VinWiki segment is edited, you
Sure.
said it was rebodied.
Yep.
And then everybody says it's been rebodied.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
And now,
everything in here, though. Like, at what point, if you're restoring a car and they say, "Oh, it's just a replica of itself and it's not the original General Lee," what did everybody want me to do with it?
Right. but the
so-
unibody is the same.
Right.
So
Well,
it's the same.
you're talking about the car.
Yep.
Like, if you're a fan of this show or this generation,
Sure.
you know that every episode you got to watch that car wrinkle up in half
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the very opening scene of the show.
If it's
And I mean, this thing was not like, oh, I got a fender bender.
No,
This
no,
was
it
like
was
the dash coming through
18
their
feet
face.
in the air,
It went
81
across the
feet.
creek,
right.
Yeah.
That was
So-
one of the only ones that had the flag on the back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the Georgia episodes had the crisscross flag. Lee one is the only one in all the episodes that have the chrome rocker panels.
Yep, right.
And they had them in other cars, but they would paint over them. Of course, they started deleting the turn signals because they started using 68s. They never used a 70. If anybody ever said they used a 70, you can say the idiot on your show said they never used a 70. Feel free to point at him. He's just to the right of the screen. So, yeah, it was
Well, that was an SE, wasn't it?
it wasn't an RT car.
Because it was 383.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they only
and
used
that's
one
the-
out of all 321 General Lees they destroyed for 7 seasons of the Dukes of Hazzard. They only used one stick shift.
I always heard that they put nitrous on them. Is that true?
There is there are the small block cars, and anybody says they didn't use nitrous, we can insert photo later. I can show you all the nitrous that they used to get the power of the small block
Question
cars.
for you.
Yeah.
Is it true in the dubbing of the sounds they use the engine sounds from Bullet in the TV show?
Both of them, yeah. They would do that, or they'd have because if you listen to Bullet and listen to the Dukes of Hazzard, it's like, I mean, they shift for Jesus on that show.
Okay. Yeah, you said there's one manual transmission.
One manual, and I can tell you what episode it was in
What was the
because
story with that?
so he's still alive, great stuntman named John Cade. They in Back to the Future 3 or whatever else, when the DeLorean gets hit by the train and the DeLorean explodes, the General Lee had already jumped those tracks like 10 years prior to Back to the Future. So there's 2 episodes where the General Lee jumps a moving train, and it's a scrapyard train, and that's why they used it for Universal and hit the DeLorean with it and blew it all up. Well, about 2 blocks away, there's a road where the General Lee jumped over it. So there's, Brian jumped that. So they came back and said, oh, that was such a huge jump. Let's do it again. And so they strapped John Cade in it and put him in third and just let him rip. He physically couldn't even move because he's in like a girdle strapped to the roof, but then his body is seat belted to the seat. So he's basically, so he doesn't compress his spine. So then, but when he jumped the only stick shift car, they always had that classic shot where it's on the quarter panel and you'd see it fly. The barrel knocks that camera off. So that shot's gone. And there's only one shot of it and it just goes completely out of frame. And then it's like another cut of it landing. But it cleared a box car on a train. And then when it landed, the stick broke off in his hand and he still has the stick. So they used one 4-speed manual car, and the footage of the jump is crap, but there are photos of it everywhere, and they used it in an episode, but it's probably the worst, that's like, everybody jumps, and it was bad, but
So that sling, though, want to know something interesting about that? That was invented by Mickey Thompson that Neil was talking about, because Mickey hurt his back and wanted to do Baja so bad that they created that sling so he could be suspended in the vehicle without brushing his spine.
and Jack Gill was the first stuntman to use it on the Dukes of Hazzard. He was also the stunt coordinator on Knight Rider.
No, Dean Stevenson, Micah cannot sit on my knee. So I know there'd be a lot of questions about Dukes of
Go
Hazzard.
ahead, lay it
And
on us.
yeah, I'm sure we'll have
We've got
plenty.
plenty of time.
But however, so I got some questions. So,
All right.
like some other stuff. If you guys haven't seen it, look at the Vin Wiki. Probably the best place I think to get them all in one shot. Especially if you're taking a long trip and you've got like hours, you want to have some good audio. Get the top 10 Travis Bell car stories.
Oh, yeah,
off Vin
right.
Wiki. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good. Good stuff. All right, so we're switching gears, no pun intended here. To Cope says, Travis, when you find Christine #1, jump the 95th Street Bridge with Captain Chaos driving would make killer video.
Okay, well, Christine #1's already been found, and my friend Martin owns it. His dad owned the wrecking yard where all the Christines went to. He just celebrated his anniversary today of owning the car. From all the cars were taken to his dad. Then we can take the Blues Brothers and go to the 95th Street Bridge and jump it as it comes up. And Matt Davis, Captain Chaos, can drive. So yes, he was right. It would make our Matt Davis as Captain Chaos. Don DeLuise is the original one. So yeah, it's already been found. Martin has it, and he has it's at the Smith, or it's at the Peterson right now. So if you want to go see the real Christine, it's in the vault of the Peterson.
So how many Christines were there, and what state?
There was a
were they?
bunch of them, and even like the car that was on fire, that's Jason Mucci, or I can't remember what the guy's name was. That car had after they lit it on fire, it was a 4-door, but you couldn't tell because it was on fire. But that car had an awesome life. It stayed running and running and running and running, and even the one that got like ran over by the D50, like the track or whatever. They were all bizarre cars. But anyhow, if you just type in like Christine Junkyard or whatever else, you'll see old like Angel Fire websites with the pictures of them in there. But Martin's show cars and Martin's movie cars, he has the multiple original, or at least had his father in the junkyard where they all went. So
And Harlem Nocturne was the best song for that car.
yeah.
Was is the #1? Is that the bad looking car, like the first one that he found?
Well,
Or
there
is
was
that
so
something
many
else?
different ones. Like, so, there was 321 General Lees, but there was at least a dozen or more, 16 Christines. So they used so many different ones. They only had 168 Charger in it, and then of course that Camaro took one for the team in that. But yeah,
Yeah, whatever happened to the Jocks Charger in that?
the Charger's still running around. It's a California car. Like when the car's on fire, that's on Magic Mountain Parkway. So who's from California?
Here?
So yeah, look, so like they built this dummy gas station on Magic Mountain Parkway, and they set it on fire. And of course, everybody's like, "Oh God, they're finally building a gas station out here," because there was nothing out there then. And it's just a movie prop, and then they blow it all to hell, and they're like, "Oh great."
So I got a little bit of movie trivia.
Yeah.
For you. I've been dying to know. So Vanishing Point, they used 470 Challengers.
Yeah.
One of them, actually, I think 3 of them were 383 4-speed cars that they used with like a 323 gear for high speed ones. And they had a 440 Magnum with 4-speed, but they had 410s and a Dana.
Yeah.
They obviously destroyed a 68 Camaro at the end,
yeah.
but what happened to the Challengers?
That's a great question. Floyd Garrett thinks he has one in his museum down there in Sevierville. I couldn't tell you.
Didn't they disband that museum?
Yeah, I don't know if it's still down there now.
Because they came out of the Dodge dealer in
Yeah.
Colorado.
So
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
We-
Clint
That
was
was
just
a
telling me
muscle
that's
car
closed
museum,
up.
right?
Yeah, it may be.
It's
I haven't been down there in so long. So
Closed this year.
We have a comment here. The boss says that Christine is Shane and our son Cash's favorite movie.
yeah,
That's really something.
That's
That's
right.
the favorite
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Just Mopar Joe swinging by. He
He got
says,
killed.
"All right, Mopar people."
in the garage.
Now,
Yeah.
here's something I know nothing about.
What's that?
Greg McDonald says, "How hopped up was the engine in Killdozer?"
That
That one I have no
I
idea.
love. I mean,
The story.
there's nothing better than that story. Yeah, and of course, there's some pretty cool Netflix episodes about that now. But yeah, he was. I don't know if you want to find a story of a man that stuck it to the man. He's your guy right
Yeah,
there.
Yeah. What is it? What's it called? Where that the reasonable man does unreasonable things?
Yeah,
It's called the average working class man.
yeah. The current
I
situation.
doubt he did anything to the engine on that sucker.
No.
Those they only go about 3-4 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, come on, Adam.
Johnny,
Yes. And so if you hear that
Somebody
beeping in,
call
that's Adam, the neighbor. So we have a shop, and people just show up all the time. And Adam usually comes over and has a beer.
yeah, come on. We're live on YouTube right now.
So yeah, all right, Adam, the neighbor.
So I actually have something in here. His name is Marvin, and I actually celebrate Killdozer Day, and I have it on here, and so that way I know to celebrate and remember the guy.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like a No Name Nationals Killdozer Day.
Well,
We
it's-
all build Killdozers.
It's June 4th.
And so everybody's in town
On
for
Freedom
BRI.
Day.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
So it's on a Sunday this day.
So Big Belly Racing is
yeah.
asking about the wheel standing generally.
So the wheel standing generally is an awesome story. I will be on VinWiki this on the 16th, and we will be telling the story of the wheel standing generally and how I helped rescue the car. That car ended back up in Washington State, and then it is now at the Volo Auto Museum. Brian Grams was able to negotiate a deal with it, and it lives and breathes. And it was privately built by Rich Septon, so it has done extremely well.
Where was
But
that?
it's awesome, and it does stand up, and you don't ever want to sit in there, but it does stand up on its ass end, and it'll do it. So,
It was across the street from his shop.
but yeah,
The concrete factory.
Oh, that's what it was.
Where was that Killdozer? What state was that?
Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah.
It's Colorado. It was concrete.
Yeah,
Well, you got to do what you got to do.
yeah, it was.
The stories just you just shake your head like.
Mostly.
So yeah,
Mostly peaceful protest.
What something I'm curious about? What is your ambulance now? Your Transcom.
so if you watch Wrench Every Day, and it's now Questionable Garage, Jared Pink, and he's Freddie Tavares' buddy. If you watch that channel, you'll see it on a lift in the background. When we rebuilt it 2 years ago to finally get the curse of the Transcom medevac off its back, because it has never completed the coast to coast. Mine has never completed. The original one never completed. So we went with fuel injection. It's a 502 big block Chrysler. So if you got a 502 big block in a B200 van with a gear Venus transmission, Hellwig sway bars, Bilstein shocks, Brock Yates always asked me why I would want to build the van again, because it never worked the first time, and it still doesn't work. But so we went and updated everything and to serpentine belt conversion, redundancy, everything, and then we put fuel injection on it. And because it had a Holly 850 on it, and it would drive everywhere past the gas station, it would not. And so it was a very grouchy thing from heating up and everything. And you've got this humongous engine with headers on it right up off, 3 inches off your heel. And it was just the worst. And so they warned me not to do it again, but we, didn't take their advice. So we put fuel injection on it, and we went April Fool's Day 2 years ago. So a good time from the Red Ball Garage to the Lincoln Tunnel in New York City is about 12 minutes. And that's a good time. A great time is 10 minutes. But when you have the lights and sirens going until you get to Markets or Madison Square Gardens, because there's a cop or there's a police station there, so you kind of turn it off there. But we made it from the Red Ball Garage to the Lincoln Tunnel in 6 minutes. And so we were flying out of Lincoln Tunnel, made it into Pennsylvania. The fuel injection, which will remain anonymous, decided to lose all of its fuel pressure, and we made it about halfway across Pennsylvania and put it on a truck and took it home. So then we approached Holly, and Holly came on with bated breath. They secretly told us that they were hoping we would fail so they could come on and make it across the country with us. So now the ambulance has been outfitted with EFI, Holly EFI, and it runs like a scolded cat, a insert animal here. And it's a bad mofo. So Jared put it all back together. You can watch his channel on Wrench Every Day, now Questionable Garage, and you'll watch the rebirth of the ambulance with multiple redundancy things. And it holds 77 gallons on board fuel, and it's a bad bitch, but that's where it's at now. It's in Georgia at Jared's place. So we're going. We're doing. Yeah, that's what. If you, cannonballers are. If you ever want to do a crime with a cannonball, because they know how to keep their damn mouth shut.
See, people want to steal the ambulance just because it holds 77 gallons of gas.
Yeah, but you have to realize it has a 502 cubic inch big block, so it gets about 8 miles to
They
the
just want
gallon.
to steal it for the gas.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's true.
At this point, right?
Yeah.
Take the van.
Yeah.
So
I found it a block over. It's
Yeah.
empty though.
Irish Outlaw has a 68 Pontiac ambulance.
Oh yeah.
And he ran it down the drag strip for No Name Nationals.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you want to run your ambulance down the drag strip and call out another ambulance,
Yeah, my
because right
problem
now
is
he's the
ours-
fastest
Ours
ambulance.
is built for hot top speed. So ours isn't 8 seconds in front or anything. Ours is with the gear vendors, and it's got 276, 78, 278 6 rear end, and gear vendor down at about 100 miles an hour. It's doing about 3.5 Rs. So because it's all torque, but it will flat fly. So
Excellent.
That sounds like some jumping team will do it.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's bad.
It was, I remember trying to find the mirrors
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
the problems of trying to build an
So it's a 78 Dodge van, which is a crossover year for Dodge, which is the worst idea they could have done. It's a Sportsman. So a Sportsman's a 6-window with a sunroof, and they recessed the door handles. First year they did that. First year they couldn't have picked a worse van to do it with. So to find the van was one, and then the correct interior, the correct everything, the correct Furno gurney, and then, like I said, the rear view mirrors are off a 1974 Opel Manta GT. And when Brock Yates his health was declining, I would call him, and he would be like, "It's the disc jockey." Like, he had this big, loud, booming voice, and you're talking to Brock Yates. Like, why are you taking my call? Like, you did the 79 Daytona 500. You're the pit reporter. You're Diamond P Sports with swamp buggy racing and all this ridiculous crap and this car and driver and everything, and you want to talk to me about the ambulance. But I had looked and looked and looked for years and didn't want to bother him, and he wasn't well, but I would always take my phone call, and he knew exactly. I said, "Mr. Yates, what was the ambulance mirrors?" And he said, "A 1974 Opel Manta GT." And I was like, "Shit, I should have called you 2 years ago."
You went through a lot of stuff to find them.
Tons.
You end up with a lot in that ambulance.
Yeah, my neighbor Adam has seen multiple vans come and go. Then multiple, there's 7 vans died to make that one van. So,
Oh, wow.
so, yeah. And they're all 78s. So.
Who's your body guy? He must have loved
Yeah, he was on his last reserve nerve because it's only been painted 3 times. So, and it's like painting a school bus,
Right. Let's get the roller.
Yeah, it's no one said that anybody here was sane. So we're
Oh, scene is not.
misery loves company. So.
Well, it is a Friday night.
Well, since our friend John Cope is in here,
Yeah.
It's a good one to ask about the Blues Brothers. And
Yeah.
I did not realize till recently that you recreated the entire route.
Everything the Blues Brothers did in their car, I've done in my car. So
In the original places.
in the original places. So in 2005, with no permission and no permits, we followed the script from everywhere that they go. So when they go drive through the mall, which we drove through the mall, and with no permission and no permits, we've got the 74 Dodge Monaco back in the mall one more time.
That's so
And
bad.
my neighbor Adam is from where, Adam? Joliet, Illinois. So we went to the prison back, and it was still a functioning prison back then. We're driving up with this, "Hi, how you doing?" They're like, "By the way, there's prisoners in here." But so the Dixie Square Mall, when they do this big 360 at the 4 corners of Cortland or the 6 corners of Cortland, it's literally like 40 miles away from the mall. And then they're in the mall, and then they're whatever. So everything that they did, we did. And we released it on a DVD in 2005, and it was the 25th anniversary of it. No permission, no permits. And we're in the mall, like moving gravel around and stuff, and asbestos. And I probably lost 10 years off of my life doing it. But then a Harvey, Illinois cop walked in, and we're all looking at it because the Harvey, Illinois police station is now in the mall parking lot, and the helipad is on the mall parking lot. And he was like, "What are you guys doing here?" And we had brought a white Nissan Titan with us and put a Universal Studios sticker on it. And they're like, "Oh, we saw the Universal outside. We figured you were in here filming something." We're like, "Nothing to see here."
So isn't that mall wasn't actually a functioning mall?
No,
They filmed it. They filmed
Yeah.
it full. It didn't tell them what they were going to do.
It had recently been a function.
Yeah, it was. So that was filmed in 78, 79. Yeah, and they just filled it back up with stuff, and the Oldsmobiles are in early this year and all that stuff, And when they go through the middle of different stores and everything, they were just prop stores. But we went, the Curl Up and Die, it's still there. The Curl Up and Die is still there. The James Brown's Church is still there. The orphanage is still there. Yeah, so it's all, you can go see it all. But for us to get away with it, we got away with it in 2005. Now, with phones and everything, they were like, "Oh, somebody, there'd be multiple Karens chasing us around going, quit doing 100 miles an hour on lower Wacker Drive. But, you ask for forgiveness before you ask for permission. So, but yeah, we did everything we could. That car had a great soul too. That car's now in Japan. So we sold it to, how like karaoke and stuff is like super banana crazy.
Oh yeah.
We sold it to like these two Blues Brothers guys. So if you type in Tokyo Bluesmobile on YouTube, you will see my Bluesmobile in Japan, this big gunboat of a car, and these little Japanese guys with these fake mustaches running around, and it's got the big speaker on the roof and all that.
That thing would not even fit down the street.
No, it's crazy, and you got all these little bitty Suzukis and everything, and this big gunboat of a '74 Dodge.
Real quick, there's one place you didn't go to.
What's that?
Bob's Country Bunker.
Oh, and that's at Universal Studios.
Yes.
So, but it's supposed to be Kokomo, Indiana.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bob's Country Bunker. If you go to Universal on the tour and you see like Jaws coming out of the wall or out of the whatever, so when the RV, when they glue Bob's foot to the ground, he's got the RV and he jumps into the water. That's the Jaws pit where the Jaws at Universal Studios. But just right across the pond is the little shack they use for Bob's Country Bunker. So. Useless.
JB is asking, Clint is just hanging. Yeah, we're all just hanging.
Yeah.
We're all here. We're at PRI and we've come, down the road a piece, and now we're hanging
This
out.
is better than PRI.
It's like a Gen X mecca right here.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Don't hurt as much.
if you're within 10 years of 50 years old, raise your hand. So, and this is so you can go 10 years either direction, and you'll be able to find something on this property. But get out. So, and
that's how I feel the whole time.
I look at everything.
Yeah.
yeah,
The first thing I saw was the bikes.
Yeah.
It's all right, your Holdens are cool.
Yeah, and then somebody gravitates to the video games or the tracker or whatever else. And this is only one shop of 3 on the property. So I don't know. You can't take it with you, so you might as well spend it.
So talking about one shop, this is one shop on the property.
Yeah.
So the other one, and we'll look at it a little bit later, is One-Eyed Cat. No, Mr. and Mrs. Levi are driving home. I don't know why, but they are. Anyway,
Yeah.
They were invited. The license plates.
Sure.
How? So we put up a community post. If you haven't seen that, I'd ask you guys, take a look at that. See if you can figure out what that tag is from. How does a fella make a career of stamping license plates voluntarily when so many other people
without wearing oranges
or they make 18 cents an hour for their commissary account,
money,
right?
man. We need smokes, man. So yeah, put some money on our books. My General Lee looked really dumb driving around with an Indiana license plate on it. And so I've got this Pride of the South Yankee car or Pride of the South Southern car and this Yankee driving it with an Indiana license plate. So I knew that all of these were props. And there used to be an overnight flight from Indianapolis to LA on Northwest of all things. And we would leave a Crown Vic in the United Airlines employee parking and put the keys on the front tire. So anybody came in town had a Crown Vic to drive. But I started finding the prop builders when I started finding the mechanics that worked on the Dukes of Hazzard, because they jumped miniatures the last couple of seasons. The Dukes of Hazzard, they're pretty terrible. But someone had to build those miniatures, and the Jack Sessoms built them. And he was the coolest guy in the world. But everybody kind of knew everybody. And I was like, where did we get the props for this? So there was there's a post out there with the guy that plays Al Bundy.
Ed O'Neill.
Ed O'Neill, thank you. But he's like in Married with Children reading a magazine or a newspaper, but then he's on one of his other shows 20 years later reading the same newspaper. It's made by the same prop house. They just keep stamping. In Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey walks out of a bar and there's a newspaper on the wall that says, we landed on the moon. And he goes, we did that? That's a fake newspaper that's made by a company called Earl Hayes Press. But there used to be Ellis Mercantile, Earl Hayes Press, Hand Prop Room, and there was another one there. So there was 4 humongous prop places. If you needed guns, you went to Ellis Mercantile. If you needed paper goods, license plates, a can that said beer on it real big, or a cigarettes that said cigarettes, that was made by Earl Hayes Press. HPR was Hand Prop Room. If you needed, switches to make if you were filming the movie Airplane and you needed a bunch of, so each one of them, and then you had all the cinema vehicle services, the places. So I found the places that made the license plates. There was a guy there named Tom Hofarth that didn't get sick of me being back and forth and asking him thousands of questions. And he taught me how to make license plates. But these companies are unions. So a prop union maker, if you buy a license plate for a General Lee, Warner Brothers, it was $75 a tag, and you had to buy 2 front and back. So they were cleaning house and doing well. But that was how I learned how to do it from him. And then I took it and made it into a real stamping business and bought a license plate machine out of a prison auction, and hired some prisoners back in the day to teach me how to do it the right way and keep my fingers on my hands. And took it. So, but the same people that made the plates for the General Lee made the plates for Blues Brothers, or made the Out of Time plate for Back to the Future, the Fall Guy, and all these people would come to this one place. And they're still in business, Earl Hayes Press, but Ellis Mercantile went out of business. That like they had badges and guns and all that stuff. But that's how I learned how to do it. I would take this terrible flight, and that's when I was chasing down all the mechanics on the Dukes of Hazzard. Then became all the friends with all the stuntmen. And like I would call and I'd be like, hey, I'm flying in. And this is pre 9/11. And you could basically walk onto Warner Brothers Studio. Like it was at the end of Blazing Saddles, they all come to the gate there, and that's Warner Brothers Studios. But just behind that is Hazard County. And Hazard County also was Stars Hollow and the Gilmore Girls. The Gilmore Girls lived in Boss Hogg's house, which is almost bizarre. There's on the same street as the Family Ties house and like all this other crap. Like there's a new Wednesday Addams show on Netflix now, and at the opening scene, she like literally walks out of the Alibi from Shameless, and then walks down Hazard Square, and I'm like going, oh, I'm a terrible guy to take to a movie right now. But long the story short, he took me under my wing and under his wing, and then I became friends with the stuntmen, and they would be like, how tall are you? And I'd be like, I'm 6'4", and they're like, can you be at the studio at 9? And you can just show up back then. And I was a fireman on ER for one season or for one episode. So my dumbass is running in all this gear with a ladder, and like Doc Magoo's or whatever, the little diner was on fire across the street. But if you watch close, there's a 6'4" fireman that busts his ass with a ladder because he wasn't looking for the hose on the ground running there. And I ate shit on ER one season. So, but after 9/11, you really couldn't get away with anything. But it was this is all pre 9/11 stuff, and it was the Wild West. You can get away with anything. So that's how I learned how to make license plates.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
That overnight flight, you could sleep on it and wake up in LA and have a big time.
If you guys want to see the license plates, I believe we got a link below this, celebritymachines.com.
Yep, Celebrity Machines.
And you would not believe how many license plates, movies, and television there are.
There's only 2.4 million plates on the property right now. Wow. So
yeah. That little picture of my community.
Yeah, you guys have not.
That little picture of my community tab. You guys don't understand. That was like 1% of all the tags here.
It's ridiculous.
You really have no idea. Just Mopar Joe's got a question.
Yeah.
Joe has a question. It says he remembers on ships they had a plate on several cars that basically was
Yeah,
California
same
and a
one.
bunch of 9s and a 1 or something.
You'll see a lot of movie plates that say 149 PCE or anything PCE. The Big Lebowski is like 327 PCE, and you'll be like, what the hell is all the PCE shit? It's production car exempt. So if a California or someone officer sees one of these going down the road, they know it's a production car or picture car exempt. So they would PCE, but there's lots of hidden things in license plates, and lots of movies like to hide things in license plates. We love when we figure out what's hidden in license plates. So
Every one of these guys is going to be ordering a PCE tag now, thinking they can get
American
stuff.
Graffiti.
THX 138 was a nod to George Lucas's THX 1138, his first movie. Blues Brothers is BDR 529, which is Black Diamond Riders, and their address is 529. That was the first club that Dan Aykroyd ever played at. Herbie the Love Bug is OFP 857, which is our first production, August of 1957. So there's countless hidden things, and then we love it. I mean, and
Speaking of Herbie the Love Bug,
CNH 320 meant absolutely nothing. I know, and Daisy Duke was FCH 630, means nothing. It was just the luck of the draw.
speaking of Herbie the Love Bug,
Yeah.
why don't you tell them why you hate Herbie the Love
I
Bug?
can't stand that little. I don't know. There's something about that. I just can't. I mean, everything's fantasy, but I just, for some reason, it's just like it's nails on a chalkboard for me with Herbie the Love Bug.
It cost you a lot of money.
That fast, yeah. So I had, and dude, that I found out that so I had Cinema Vehicle Services, what used to be owned by Ray Clearig, and Ray Clearig was nice to me for no reason at all. I was just a loudmouth disc jockey from Indiana that he just probably couldn't get rid of. Every 3 months, I would come by to try to buy something. But after the first Fast and the Furious, when they had started filming the second car, they recycled a lot of the cars, the Eclipses and the Supras, and he had stacks of ground effects, all the big dollar ground effects to the moon, just sitting out in a bullpen in the sun, and 50,000 cop cars and school buses and all this, non-exempt or ND cars, non-script cars. But then there's another bullpen that he had the 70 flip Charger was in it, and just sitting there rusted away
From Fast.
And with
Charger
with the Eclipse that gets shot up and blown up and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there with Ray, and I'm like, what are you gonna do with all this crap? He said, Travis, because he built Illinois, he had the Illinois Chip Foose's car, so he didn't give a shit about all that crap. That was a stupid, racer movie. He didn't give a crap about it. But he was a great guy, and he'd give me the golf cart. We'd just be like driving around. There'd be like 15 Starsky and Hutch Torinos. We're just like, well, this is so cool. But at the end, it's like, who cares? So I'm like, I was like, all right, Ray, and I live in Indiana. This is not, hey, I'll be back in 10 minutes to pick all this shit up kind of thing. And so I made a deal with them to buy the flip Charger, because I'm like, and it wasn't real bad. Like, you'll see it flip, and if it didn't catch a wheel, it wouldn't have rolled, but it wasn't the worst. But so I went out, had it bought, had the cutoff car bought, I had the blow up car bought, and I had like all this and like ground effects, and I'm like going to get a U-Haul to throw all the ground effects, and I had literally like $5,000 in the car, and then like another 5 in the ground effects, and I had it like the money was out of the bank, and I took, you never do a crime with someone that won't keep their mouth shut, because if you go knock off a liquor store, do it by yourself, because there'll be one guy that gets $20 and then he gets interrogated and he sings like a so I took one asshole with me that was a Herbie the Love Bug fan, but he was also a fan of Knight Rider, which not a bad deal, but he had one of the original Love Bugs, and he was like, hey, I will trade you blah, blah, blah for the night car. And so then Ray starts doing a deal with him and realizes that I've kicked the rug. So anyhow, he destroyed the whole deal. And now that car sold, the flip car, like just sold for another $100,000 here recently. And I had everything bought for like $5,000, and then all the ground effects for like another $5,000, like literally on the way to get a U-Haul truck. And he calls me and says, man, let me just think about this. And I knew why. Because I left that asshole back at the I should have taken him with me. But
He violated a rule of selling, which is when you make the sale, you shut up.
When I found the first General Lee, I found it a year before I bought it. And it's like finding the Millennium Falcon and being a Star Wars fan, but not telling anybody that you found them. If I'd have told you the first General Lee was out there, then you would have known to start looking.
You wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah, but me, I kept my damn mouth shut. The Cannonball guys are good to, go do a crime with us. We won't crack under pressure. So that's why I hate Herbie the Love Bug. He screwed that whole deal.
It had nothing to do with Herbie.
Yeah, nothing to do with him.
Screw him and screw the Herbie.
Yes.
Nothing to do with him racing around Monte Carlo or going bananas or anything.
There's our friend Ryan
I
from
was like
Stick Car Chronicles.
Herbie the Love Bug. The bad guy had an Apollo GT.
He sure did. He had a Saab or some shit like that too.
No, it was actually an American supercar called the Apollo GT 5000, and it was powered by
A Buick.
Buick 300.
Well,
Wow.
today on Useless Herbie Knowledge. Just like that asshole that knows what BDR 529 means from the Blues Brothers. So that's me. Keep me in line.
Well, can I ask you a question about a car from a movie?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is the Impala from the Cheech and Chong movie, is that a movie car?
You know what?
That
That was the Cheech and Chong's movie.
What?
The muff diver plate was a real plate.
Oh, okay.
That was somebody's real. That flew through the California DMV, but I don't know about the car.
Okay.
It's the Love Machine was
Yeah,
was
the Love
it?
Machine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah,
The Love Machine to be
Yeah. but we do that license plate too. The muff diver
Do you?
license.
Oh,
We also
okay.
do the license plate from the Fiber Weave van, the Yeska van. The
Okay.
Yeska.
Yeah.
Yeska is also slang for marijuana.
Nah.
what is the you make plates for everything.
Yes.
What is the one that you did that you said this is the worst idea ever? Somebody asked for
Worst? So, and we take requests, and so because at some point in time you'd be like, how there used to be a thing called the replica prop forum back in the day, back pre-Facebook, and you would know how to build. There's a Hansel and Carbonite right up there, by the way, laying on his back. So you can see his hands, you can see his fingers.
Yeah.
But so you would go do stuff like that and learn how to build the correct screen accurate that. But they would ask us for the Jurassic Park plates, and we're like, what? But then we realized all these kids that grew up on the dinosaur movie were building the Jeeps and the Explorers. But then the effing worst plate that we've to this day done, we did the Vanilla Ice plate from That's My Boy or whatever, him and Adam Sandler or somebody did a movie, and the plate said Go Ice on it, and it was a Miami plate. And unless Vanilla Ice is sitting there signing them, I can shingle my house with all the ones that we still have. That was the worst decision out of all the places I've ever done. They're huddling up here. It's
I
like,
have no idea.
yeah. But yeah, that one's terrible.
We'll see some plates in a minute.
Yeah.
So what was
Do you have any of the Jurassic Park?
Oh, tons of
There's
them. We have
you-
every one that they've ever made.
you would not believe the plates.
Yeah,
You
you
just-
will.
There are millions of plates.
Yeah.
That's
Literally.
the plan.
Right.
Plan.
All right. Well,
So
to be continued on the plan.
I've already got a plan.
Yeah.
I'm getting the plan too. What was the plate that somebody asked for? He said, I'm never going to sell one of these, but wound up selling truckloads of them.
There's an anime show called Initial D, and it's a Japanime thing where it's about drift cars and all that stuff. And they said, "Will you do the plates from Initial D?" And it's all in Japanese. And I go, "We will never sell any of these," and we sell them by the thousands.
Oh yeah.
And so then there's different cars from that show. So then we started doing different ones from the different cars. And
It's all kanji, right? It's all Japanese.
all
Yeah.
Japanese, yeah, all stuff, and it's overdubbed. And well, I don't know, it's Japanime. It's really neat to watch, but I'm like, I have no idea what. But yeah, so we did all the plates from that.
Oh yeah.
So the boss here is asking, in San Diego, I worked with a guy named Armando Velasquez
Yeah,
that swore up and down he was the voice for the Knight Rider in Espanol.
it probably is. Yeah, because William Daniels was the voice
Right.
he was also, he's still alive. He's
old.
old. He was on St. Elsewhere, if you remember that. He
Oh,
was
yeah.
one of the doctors on St. Elsewhere, but he's the voice of the night 2000 or whatever.
Is that the one that ended with the globe? Kid was actually just looking at.
Oh, that was the Knight Rider 2000. That was.
No, like saying elsewhere.
Oh no.
You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
I know.
Like, it always like a kid's like
Yeah,
dream or something.
No.
Scared.
no, that was St. Elsewhere was a hospital TV show.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. I can't think of what it is, but
Seven Days of the World Tombs.
No, it was a TV show.
Yeah.
It had like the dumbest ending
Yeah.
ever. to the
So-
whole saga.
Dude,
Yeah.
my favorite TV show from the 80s that I've never seen anybody do anything with is Animal.
Thing to reboot.
Why have we not had a remake of Animal?
everybody needs a Beauty and the Beast or whatever with the
Right.
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty hard.
We never saw a remake of Syphil.
So Travis's Mopar Garage, no relation to
Yeah.
where we're sitting right now. Where is the Dodge Interceptor?
Oh yeah, it was originally a PPG pace car. It was an Indy pace car. So back when pre-IRL IndyCar split and Tony George's mess, pace cars were always really cool, and they would always unveil them at the auto show here in Indy and whatever else. But they had the Wraith was a PPG pace car, and it's a Chrysler. But there were a couple of them, but where the original one is, it's a 2-click Google search away. It's really not hard to find the original one. But they did make bodies and molds of it. But
Well, the 1971 Challenger convertible base car wasn't very cool.
so I bought my Dodge Magnum off of Eldon Palmer, who wrecked the 1971 Challenger pace car. And if you still, wherever that car is today, the terrible GPS will still take you to his home. It's like permanently programmed. I could never get it out of the thing. So, but I bought it off of Eldon Palmer. He was the Palmer Dodge who crashed the 1971 pace car. The videos all over the internet, and I think he had John Glenn or somebody in the back seat, but hit a photographer stand at the end of the pit straightaway.
All right, so question we gotta ask. Some of us
Yeah.
saw John Schneider at PRI yesterday.
Oh, John's in town.
He was at PRI
Yeah.
yesterday.
He's an awesome guy, by the way.
Yeah,
He was very
I've known him since I had hair.
He was very cool. And
Yeah.
anyway, you drove the General Lee in some event,
Oh,
in
yeah,
place of him.
Yeah, shark.
and he about went all boar's nest on somebody.
Yeah.
What was the deal with that?
So back in the day, there was the Bull Run and the Gumball 3000, and so all these different rallies across the United States, and everybody's like, a road rally is different than a cannonball. A road rally is you're driving something, and we're racing from hotel to hotel over 7 days, and it's a rally across the country. And there was a rally called the Players Run, and John Schneider was entered in this thing. At the last minute, he was like, hey, he called me, and he's like, I cannot make this thing, but they expect it generally to be there. It's all expenses paid if you get your ass to Times Square. And the USS Intrepid, or I think is the aircraft carrier that's there. It's got the space shuttle sitting on it. So anyhow, the starting line was the Intrepid, and the finish line was the Renaissance Hotel at Hollywood and Highland. And at Hollywood and Highland, after 7 days, they had this banquet and all this stuff. It was a nonstop party across the country. But I'm driving a 69 Dodge Charger with 4-wheel disc brakes, no air conditioning, no cruise control, vinyl seats, and a big block 383, and it made it across the country. And they were very kind of generous and nice, and I was the comic relief the whole time, and it was a lot of fun. But you're racing with all these supercars and all this stuff, and none of them understand that the CB is your best friend. They got all these bullshit radar detectors back then. And I was the third person to Hollywood and Highland. I kicked everybody's ass and made it there. And so we go to this awards banquet, and they're supposed to write me a check for getting the car there, getting it home, and they refused to do it. And I had notified them that John Schneider was going to stop by and be there. Sorry I couldn't make it, Travis. Whatever. I'm here to hand everybody else their trophies. And the minute John found out that they were not going to write me my check, like when the room was leaving, it was like MacBook Pros back then. Like the organizer, like he snatched that out of his hand and told John has a son named Chasen, and he said, Travis, you're in charge of Chasen for a second. And he went full Bo Duke on the guy and said, look, he drove that car 2,940 miles to be here and has to get it home. The man, write him the check. And I got the check written. He was to this day, John Schneider and he's a bad motherfucker, man. He's just a terrific, he's as genuine on TV as he is in real life. So,
I agree with that. That was our experience.
just a great guy. So,
yeah, we do plan to have him on the show soon.
yeah, he's, that's bizarre. If I knew he was in town, which he was last year, he could probably sit here with us. But
He wasn't there today.
Turn and
He
burn.
was there
Yeah,
yesterday.
he dirt races and stuff now, and gosh, he's such a great guy. I talk to him all the time, but he's just terrific. So no reason to be my friend anymore, but he'll call me and say, why don't you come down to Louisiana? I'm like, shit. All right, I'll see you in a minute. So
We told him we'd be over here tonight.
yeah,
Anyway, he thinks a lot of you.
he's terrific.
Yes.
If he needed a kidney, I'd probably have to shake him down one of your guys's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys in the background are still walking around.
They are.
They don't need a chair
They're
yet.
touring around.
They are still fighting.
See, you're definitely not old enough.
See,
I would have been practically laying on the ground
Yeah,
smiling.
I'd have been doubled over by now in my own damn garage.
when we walked in here, we had to set this stuff up. And as soon as the door went up, these guys just go nuts. Kids in a candy store. So I'm just over here setting up a load. They're just going
Well, you already did it.
everywhere,
Yeah,
running
you did
in
it
here.
a couple days ago. I'm sure you did.
Right. I just thought that was so
Yeah.
much fun.
I asked you.
Yeah, well,
Now it's still there working
we
on
know,
something.
we had this young lady that we did Wednesday Night Tech Talk Live.
Yeah.
She has a movie Jeep that she created herself.
sure. And we
It's
love
a,
Jurassic Park Motor Pool.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have plates for that Jeep?
Yeah.
Oh,
We do. And I'm sorry, I just loved your thing there. So
That's all right.
that's all right. Yeah, we have that one. I'm surprised she doesn't have them yet, but
I just chatted to her, said, hey, do you have
she's got a hell of a lot of Tyrannosauruses in the back of that thing.
That's Riley.
Riley Rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But she's
the plate is there.
she's
Yeah.
a high school teenager
Love it.
that taught herself how to rebuild carburetors.
Yeah.
And all the Edelbrock carders.
Yeah.
And she now rebuilds them and sells them for a business while she's in high school.
Because she employs like 3 other girls.
She
We've
does
got-
employ 3 other girls.
And she's massive now all over the place.
Why isn't she here hanging out with it? We could have handed her a plate.
Jeez.
She's
Most
too
of
big for
Florida.
us now.
Yeah, I can tell by the pictures in the background, the trees.
Yeah, she forgot about us.
Yeah. All right.
Mopars, Mustangs, and minivans has to get back to work. Hang like that. Mopars, Mustangs, and minivans. That's a descriptive channel name, isn't it?
There's, I mean, you know that Brain on Drugs commercial?
Dakota Stoutmouth says this is a top tier live stream.
Oh,
Well, I
yeah.
knew you'd like this, Dakota. This is right up your alley.
Yeah. Well, it's only down from here.
Dakota is from North Georgia.
Yeah.
If
well,
they were,
good. Yeah.
if they were casting Dukes of Hazzard today, Dakota would be right.
My ambulance is in North Georgia currently, so I'll be in Georgia next weekend.
Windy. No, we didn't see him today. We ran into him yesterday, and the way we saw him was we're clear across the floor, and I saw this picture of a General Lee the size of a garage door.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I got to check out that." I didn't.
Sure.
Shire wasn't there at the moment, but I walked over. So there's a picture of General Lee. I got to see it. It's, I would walk across the floor and see any picture of any Charger, of course.
Sure.
Well, at least any real Charger, the old Charger. And they said, "Oh yeah, Schneider was just here. He walked down to catch some lunch, so we walked made our next lap by." So
Yeah. Last year, he grabbed me as I was walking by, and we went off and took off and ended up in the SRI booth for a little while. And I've just had so much stuff going on here. We just could not make it. I mean, and granted, it's right down the street, but couldn't make it this year.
Dust Devil Garages to get all the good guests. Well, I got these guests. These guests are awesome. We have both of the hacks today,
Yeah,
too.
not to be
Believe it or-
confused
It's,
with.
it's hacks in stereo.
Both of the hacks. And Dallas and Clint and Polito
Plural.
and
Yes.
Travis
And
Bell
my neighbor Adam.
and his neighbor Adam
Yeah.
all together. in
And
the same
Adam's the
place.
pace car driver for the Backyard 400.
Nice.
So,
And Adam's gonna drink a beer and break out one for all of us.
Yeah.
there's probably some in that fridge over there. So.
Oh man, you want one?
Yes.
Well, I don't. Well, I may have oversold it, so I don't know what's in there. Because
I could run home and grab some.
my father's 83 years old, still golfs every week, and he comes over and drinks all the beer. So, is it all water?
No, there's big St. Elmo cola cocktail.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's all right. I've over.
If you like syrup, yeah.
Yeah, I've oversold it. But the old man drank all the beer in the shop.
Water in there.
Yeah.
Oh, Russ.
Well, there's probably some in the other shop too. So, all right, sorry. Oversold, under delivered.
Yeah, Dakota says he would definitely try to get a Duke. You can see exactly. I mean, Schneider was what, 18, 19 years old when he
Yeah,
landed that?
yeah.
Yeah, he's
He
born
lied
in
about
60 and 78.
Yeah,
so
he
was
lied
18.
about it. He said he was 21, 22, came in with a sixer of PBR and but Schneider's in Smokey and the Bandit too. He's one of the kids in the background, and so's Enos and so's Cooter. Ben Jones and Sonny Schroer are both in Smokey and the Bandit.
Speaking of that, though, Enos is. I guess if you want to get into the car realm stuff, Enos's mom's car from the show is on for sale on Facebook Marketplace.
He drives. Sonny normally drives big old Cadillacs, but he's.
It's his mom's old Buick.
Oh, no kidding.
Big-
You gonna buy it?
No.
Big Billy Racing here is asking,
It
are the
would.
Fantasy Island F bodies still in existence? They're talking about, I guess, the wagons.
Yeah, the
that got roof
wagons.
off
They're
of.
there. There's two of them. They're still. What were they? They were Dusters or
They
something.
were Aspen or Valari
Aspen Valari wagons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
that's
had
it.
the top cut off.
Yeah,
that
and then
safari
the
looking-
doors were kind of welded
Yeah.
up, but kind of where you can
Like,
just
yeah.
jump into it, kind of thing. Yeah, they're still around. Then they made go-kart versions of them for tattoo,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's
they
still
have-
if you want to see that one, actually one of them and the go-kart is at the Celebrity Car Museum in Branson. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Branson, it's Sin City without the sin.
Yes, I was there with my kids. It's very kid friendly.
That would
Yeah,
be a good
it's very-
description.
When the Osmonds have a theater there and it's not Donnie and Marie, you know you're in for a good time. So.
Any of you guys in the chat have anything else you'd like to ask?
Yeah, we're
We're hanging out, having a good time
acting
here.
like we know what we're doing.
Do a little bit of tour.
She
Have
said
you-
She does not have a movie plate for her.
We got it covered.
No,
Does she need an 08? Because her Jeep's 08. Ask her if she needs 08.
She said that's not a movie number.
No,
That's
it's
her
not.
soccer number.
No, it's not a movie number.
Do you want it?
Jeeps for only 10, 12, 18, and 29. But if she needs an 08, we have. We can set her up.
I don't believe we were live yet. I'm telling him about the stock car up there on the lift.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drive it off that.
Yeah. These guys have
They
been
need
checking
to
out the
lower it
exhaust and
first.
everything. Yeah,
No,
well,
I'm
if
just gonna.
we'd have pulled the
hazard it.
ute out, we could have lowered it, and then we could have really woke the neighborhood up. But Adam, the neighbor's here, and he's used to it. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, Travis got a stock car now." So, but yeah, and it's the corporate car of Indianapolis. It's Danny Sullivan's number 99 from the very first Brickyard 400. It's the only surviving original paint car from the very first running of the Brickyard 400 when Winston Cup was real NASCAR back then, and it finished the race, and it never raced ever again. So there it is. That's the last race it ever raced at.
It's legit. It's got C10 rear suspension on it even.
Yeah.
It's a real deal.
Big truck bars.
No shit in NASCAR.
Yeah,
Yes, Brian, the Charger from Fast and Furious did come up. You had to wind back and watch.
yeah. Well, there was a Big Lebowski question. I saw.
Yes, there was.
I can, yeah.
Let's see
we did
here.
a plate from the Big Lebowski.
Oh, it did?
Yeah,
That would be a cool movie
Yeah.
to score.
yeah. The Big Lebowski was a 4-door Torino,
Yeah.
and one of
A whole bunch of
the
beer in the front seat.
one of the best like Big Lebowski impersonator guys lives here in Indianapolis, and he has the 4-door Torino. Like his plate says the dude on it. Yeah, it is. He looks so much like he's almost crazy.
The front all wrecked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's all on purpose.
That is so
Yeah.
awesome. Because that's my favorite part of the whole movie. That's
Oh
where
yeah.
he finds
The
the
Torino.
homework, that kid's homework stuff in the seat,
Yeah.
right? He's all high, he's just smoking weed.
Yeah.
And dropped the weed in his lap and then poured the whole 40 on his lap while he was driving.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Come on.
So yeah, so there's not only these things on the property, but the fellas here got here and we set up and turn the heat on and act like we know what we're doing. But there's a 1/3 mile paved go-kart track on the property. There's an 82-foot burnout pad on the property. There's the world famous foot of bricks that has the timing and scoring underneath it for the go-kart race. Brock Yates's final truck that he ever had, the Car and Driver show truck from Car and Driver magazine, is on the property. There's an 18-foot boombox trailer for back all when the radio stations used to have come to the state fair and win like Night Ranger tickets from the world's largest boombox. It's on the property. So there's ridiculous amounts of, and people, like I said, Han Solo and Carbonite, that's one of 2 on the property. And we just collect. I mean, when was the last time you saw an in the box set of GTO Taylor or GTS Taylor for an IROC?
Yeah.
And they're in the box still. So if anybody has an IROC and needs a set of those, and
They're right there.
they're right, and it's still unopened in the box.
Smoke colors.
So yeah, and the trunk lid on the wall, you can barely see it over there. That's the trunk lid from Ricky Bobby. The Perrier car that flips 15,000 times, and then they have like an Applebee's commercial in the middle of it. So that's the trunk lid that flew off the car. The T-shirt or the shirt's one of John Schneider's
I'm gonna
shirts.
try to
I
do
just
some-
spotted something else. The
So-
Rockbuster.
The
up there.
Rockbuster
Yeah.
from World Industries. So yeah, this is a pop culture mecca, and you haven't even tapped a bit of it yet.
I'm gonna try to do something kind of dangerous. I'm gonna spin the camera.
Yeah, everybody's like,
I'm gonna move the camera up
yeah,
just a little bit so you can
if
see
you want
it.
to see some of the more goofy stuff.
It's like the Gen X
We're like,
Dream.
yeah,
It's-
and that's why I said if you're within 10 years of 50 years old, any direction, everybody knows where I live. So they're always like, people just show up and be like, oh, Travis, I woke up to Boy Scout troops on my driveway before. So yeah, there's the trunk lid from Ricky Bobby, John Schneider's shirt, multiple Schwinn Predators, my jacket on the back of a priceless car. But yeah, like Adam, if you hit the switch that's next to the roller switch, big collector of old neon signs. When was the last time you saw a skateboard sign from a skate shop?
Oh wow.
That's a Holden dealership sign up there. And this is just, like I said, one of them I don't
It's
know.
heated.
That's heated. This one's the heated insulated one.
Should creep
And then back that way, then you're going to end up with multiple
Should've
video
all the
games
Schwinn Predators down.
and all that
All
stuff.
right.
Yeah, we
All
should.
right.
Yeah, we could have had a Schwinn
What
Predator
the-
race here. But, you know, this place allows us never to grow up. So it's,
Perfect.
and then, I mean, you know, when you get cool neighbors and everything else, you can, we all do so much cool stuff around here, and you ask for forgiveness before you ask for permission. And the difficult neighbors got a $40,000 fence to look at. So,
Wait till the 4th of July.
well, the 4th of July, we have an event called Blow Up the Backyard. We try every year. And Adam and I blew up the trailer a couple of years ago. So, but you know, it's all fun. And if you're on this channel talking car stuff, you can also relate to pop culture. So I do not need a Ferrari Testarossa pickup truck, but I did not want to see it die. I'm one of those idiots that believe all cars have souls.
Yeah.
And that stupid tracker.
And
back
someone loved that and made that.
there. And someone made it like,
Yeah.
and so there's no real reason why it should just be baking in the Florida sun right now. But
Hello, Ed's Machine. Joe was in here. I've left to spin the camera around.
yeah,
Let's see here. Yes, Travis is a wealth of knowledge.
oh, I'm
Indeed.
yeah, my wife can only put up with so much of me. But I've outkicked my coverage too, so there's no reason why that pretty girl likes me as much as she does.
We're basically out here running interference for her, doing her favor tonight because he can come out here and tell us this stuff.
Yeah, and she has to listen to my damn mouth all the time. So
Here's a good question. And well,
Yeah.
answer whatever different ways. Was there more than one Daisy Duke road?
so the very first one was a satellite Sebring. So when their first episodes, you see her get out of the yellow banana with the stripe on it. That's a 70-something satellite Sebring yellow, and then was
73, 74.
yeah,
Had that.
satellite Sebring or Sebring satellite. And so, but they switched to Roadrunners when they went to California. So the first 5 episodes of the Dukes of Hazzard was filmed in Georgia. It's very green and very pretty. And then the last 144 of them or whatever were filmed in California. It's really burnt and brown. And, but a lot of the places cross over. Like Daisy lost her Roadrunner off a cliff.
Right.
And ate shit at the bottom of the cliff. But that's the same place where in the movie The Twilight Zone, his name slips me right now, but he was killed on the set of The Twilight Zone. Vic Morrow was carrying the 2 children across that Indian Dunes. It was a motorcycle park, and that the same cliff in the background is the same place. Chopper fell out of the sky and killed him. But that's the same place where Daisy Duke crashed her car. It's the same place where Kit jumped that damn river 15 times. It's the Styx River in Dukes of Hazzard. It's Indian Dunes where it is. It's out in California. So yeah, they went to Roadrunners when they left Georgia. They left her original satellite Sebring or Plymouth satellite in Georgia. It's still down there somewhere. So if you want to find a movie car, it's in the South somewhere still.
Still out there.
Still out there. Yeah. They
It
should.
isn't like vans. It probably did just get crushed.
Man, I tell you what, don't get me started on the 78 Dodge van. Yeah. But I mean, the vans were disposable. Like if you and I need a 6-pack of beer,
Yeah.
and we had that old damn 78 Dodge van out back, dude, we could get a 24 by the time we're back home. So and that's why, you know, I would always tell everybody, I could find you as many Superbirds or Daytonas as you want, but go find me a 1978 Dodge Sportsman van, 6-window with a slider and barn doors. So they couldn't have picked a worse van. But, yeah.
So Coop is asking here, is there any Bluesmobile movie cars? I guess
Just
still
Blues
exist.
Brothers 2000. There's no 74 Monacos that survived that. They crushed a lot of everything after that, but they were pretty damn used up by the time. And you remember John Landis liked to do everything big, big, big. And that's why at the corner of Lake and LaSalle, underneath the L, they crashed all those cars into each other. And, you know, there was that running theme on Blues Brothers. They broke my watch or whatever else. So they say that like 11 times on that. And it's like all of Burt Reynolds' movies. Someone has swamp fever. If you ever notice that, someone drops that line, and it's never ending. Cannonball Run says someone has swamp fever. Smokey and the Bandit 2 or whatever, you know, has that, and it's just like nonstop goofy crap where the directors would put things in that you'd be like, oh man, I didn't notice that, but it's in there. But yes, no Bluesmobiles. Not really any of the cop cars either. They were all pretty much crushed. But the same gentleman that built the stand-up General Lee, Rich Septon, he worked for Universal also. He went to the shop one day and his toolbox was gone. So that means you're fired pretty much. But his toolbox was on the way to Chicago. So he was a Mopar guy and they needed him to keep all those 74 Dodge Monicas alive. So he was also a mechanic on the Dukes of Hazzard, but he was incredible first.
But none of those cars survived the original movie.
No, none of the Bluesmobiles, as far as I know, and somebody could pull one out of the field, but they would all have a Universal number on them because that was Universal.
So, question: okay, there's the 17 cars that Wayne Wood got.
Yes.
Warner Brothers.
Yep.
How many Georgia cars exist?
So Warner Brothers showed up with 3 General Lees, and Warner Brothers left with 3 General Lees. Warner Brothers never knew that Don Schischler built 2 other ones while they were down there. There's an episode of the Dukes of Hazzard that has no General Lee in it because they ran out of them. And so they had a Plymouth Fury. And so from that point, I found the first General Lee. The high octane car got jumped twice, actually. And they cut the roof off of it. So that car is long gone. Schischler built 268s. So they showed up with 3 and left with 3, and Warner Brothers was none the wiser. But after 5 episodes of the Dukes of Hazzard, there was 51 total vehicles. So, yep. So nothing really left out there. They all got put on a truck and sent to the Values Ranch, and then the Values took control of it and started building cars and building lots and lots and lots of cars. They had the highest budget in television history. But in the South, Friday football.
Yep.
They would change the times of football or move the football game to Saturday because the attendance was so terrible at high school football games because the Dukes of Hazzard was on.
Oh, wow.
So that people don't ever really realize how humongous the show was. But, I would always get the evil call about the Confederate flag. They want to talk about the Confederate flag. And if I take my Cannonball Run ambulance and go out there and wad it up on the highway, somebody's going to chase down the previous Cannonball Run record holders. I'm like, what do you think about Travis Bell wrecking his van? And just shove a mic in their face and all that stuff. When the Confederate flag conspiracy and all that stuff went crazy here recently, which I get it, I'm not going to jump in the middle of it, but my simple thing when they would call, and I would say the Dukes of Hazzard would pray before every meal, even though they broke the law all the damn time. They weren't allowed to cuss in Uncle Jesse's house. They would always forget all that stuff because they'd focus on the flag. But you and I could watch the Cosby Show right now, but we can't watch the Dukes of Hazzard. And I would just leave it at that. And they'd be like, hey, you know what, Mr. Bell's right. We can. So I'm like, which is worse?
Yeah.
But
So,
Oxford College made them take the flag off the
Oxford
roof.
College made me take one off the roof when we jumped it for MTV2. But you wouldn't know that it was on the car unless you were watching the damn thing from space. So it didn't really matter. And they were like, oh, they neutered the General Lee, they do whatever else. You know what? Hitler tore up a mustache style. Ain't nobody running around with a little bitty mustache anymore. So you just kind of roll with it, and it's very uncomfortable to talk about, but I would always just leave it that we can watch the Cosby Show right now, but we cannot watch the Dukes of Hazzard. And I would just leave it, and that was the end of it.
Do you know if Bubba Watson painted over that flag?
So
'Cause he said
that
he was
whole
going to.
mess, yeah, he said he was going to. If you had a Titleist sponsorship that you probably made $14 million a year from, and they knew you had a General Lee that had a very controversial flag on it, and all you had to do is put a tweet out that said, I'm going to do what's right,
Right.
and you still have your $14 million sponsorship. I know where the car is. The car still has the flag on it.
Yeah.
So
I've heard it. It never
yeah,
got
never got painted over. No, they put a vinyl decal on it for a minute, but that was it. But even NASCAR went a little crazy on Bubba. He was supposed to lead some parade laps at the Phoenix race, and when it all went crazy, they told him he couldn't lead them anymore. So
2015, I think, was when everybody went nuts
it was
about
a little
Midway or
bit
something like that.
yeah, and I hate to get in the middle of that because that's not my baby, but that is what it is.
See Jeff? Jeff's got to roll out. He's
Yeah.
got to drive back tonight.
All right, peace out, Girl Scouts.
man.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
See you,
Yeah.
Hacks.
See you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Travis, nice meeting you.
Don't do anything he would.
Well, that's gonna be yeah.
Wide open, right? You gotta leave it wide open.
See you guys
So,
later. Heading back to the People's Republic of Illinois.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right. One quick question here, then we'll
Yeah.
move on to something a little bit different.
Cool.
Big Belly is asking here, are General Lee's numbered?
Yes, they are.
Yes,
All
they
of them are. They're all engraved in different places, and they're. It's always kind of a trade secret on where they are, because then if you tell it, then people will start engraving their cars and saying, "Oh, look, my car's real."
Well, they have the tag that's next to the finish tag.
Well, that
Where's
was
Lee
that
one
was
there?
only the first couple episodes.
Okay,
They
so-
physically would take one of those little Dremel looking, engravers, and they would engrave the car in 4 different spots so that you knew who made the car. Values A's made cars. Gosh, there were so many different companies that there were so many different hands of the cookie jar on that, and head bean counters couldn't keep up with how many people were building cars for them. So, and they were prop cars. I mean, they were, if you wrecked the shit out of one side, you jumped it from the other side and put the camera on the other side of the car. So, if you and I start slamming doors, then that car would be a jump car, and then they'd film it from the side. That was good. And they had doors stacked to the boon. They had they would cut the roofs off of them. So they'd take the doors off of them and cut the roof off of it, so that it no longer could be identified as a General Lee, because some asshole like me would come find it and then go rob a bank in it or something, and then they'd be like, "Oh well, Travis robbed a bank at the General Lee," and then they find it.
Oh, and Luke do.
Yeah,
Now they've got places hidden, like where they would just serialize and stuff like that,
Yeah.
so they can be authenticated.
sure.
What happens when there aren't the people there that remembers how that was done? Are there good records kept?
Decent enough.
Okay.
Decent enough. Yeah, Warner Brothers kept all theirs. The values A's were a little thin, but each one of them. So Warner Brothers had a two-digit number with 2 letters. There was another company that had 3 digits with 2 numbers, and so you can always tell. And you never, if you start spilling the beans, there will be somebody
Right.
in their garage tonight engraving their car and goes,
Right.
"See, I told you."
Oh, of
And
course, that's
so
understandable.
that's why we never ever really told where all 4 spots were, or if there were 4 spots. So
Well, so a few questions here.
Yeah.
Do you know where the number 01
it
came
was
from? What is it?
the number 1 car in the county until it got beat by the 00 Mustang. So the General Lee was a racing car, and it was the fastest or the number 1 car in the county, and that's why the General Lee was named after. There was a show called Moonrunners, and Moonrunners is about Jerry Russian's life, and his car was the Traveler. Well, the Traveler was Robert E. Lee's horse, and they just converted that into General Lee, and they went from there. The General Lee is a very uncopyrightable car because no one can copyright the Dodge Charger unless they're Dodge. You can't copyright someone else's name, General Lee. You can't copyright a flag or a number. So anybody ever was like, "Oh, Warner Brothers is going to come after your ass," stand in line. They can't. They could have picked a worse combination, but they did. So yeah.
What about the police cars? Is like Venus and Roscoe's police cars desirable?
Yeah, I found the first couple of them, and then they were all recycled LAPD cars, or they would end up on TJ Hooker
Chips.
or Hunter or Chips, or the Chickasaw cars were like another county. So all the neighboring counties and all that stuff just had old LA cars. You can just point your fingers at them and go, "Okay, that's us." That's a New Hall California car or whatever else. So yeah, but they were all big. They were all 440 cop cars. But everybody was like, "Oh my God, they destroyed 321 General or Dodge Chargers to play 1 General Lee. Oh, the humanity!" But then they destroyed over 600 police cars to play 1. Roscoe, Cletus, and Enos would run into each other. They'd beat down 3 cop cars. They'd say, "Go get me 3 more," and they'd be on the set with 3 more. So, and these are LAPD cars and big block 440 cop cars. And
What about the Boss Hog Cadillac though? That's something that never really got jumped.
Boss Hog Cadillac was still alive for a while. There was an episode of what's the Flo Kiss My Grits Mel's Diner,
Alice Diner.
Malice.
Alice.
So he shows up. Sarah Book shows up on it, and they like fill the car up full of cement on it, like there or something. The one that was on in Georgia was a hardtop car, and it was gold, and they cut the roof off of it. Or no, that was Huey Hogg's car. But anyhow, it was a gold car. So like when they lift up the trunk lid, it'd be gold on the inside. So that car stuck around for a while, but there's pictures of it out baking in the California sun with all the other cars. So with the top down. So it's probably, if it's still out there, it's not well.
They don't take care of those things when they're done using
They're
them.
props. They're disposable. They're completely disposable.
How far down did that Ecto 1 run before the restoration on it?
So the Ecto 1A from the second movie. So Ecto 1, but the Ecto 1A, they used it because it was in such bad shape for Ghostbusters Afterlife. So we filmed that in 2019 in Canada, but that car was just distressed enough that they made it look back like Ecto 1, and they used it because it was perfectly tore up. So that car's at the Peterson right now too.
Well, I
So,
saw the original Ecto that that Dan Aykroyd pulled up in that was not restored.
yeah,
It was running around Illinois and going to car shows for a while.
yeah, the one with the brown, the spray paint spots
Correct.
and whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, that car. They had they were so many. I mean, that in '84, that car wasn't very old. It's a 50/9 Cadillac.
59
So
Miller Meteor.
yeah, Miller Meteor,
Yep.
and they made so many different versions of it. But
What is the oldest TV or movie car you have or have worked with?
yeah, that's a great question.
They always ask great questions.
There are some terrible ones out there too, like My Mother the Car. That was a horrible car, but where his mom had died and reincarnated herself as a car. That was a terrible movie, or terrible TV show. Older, I had 73 Falcon, the Mad Max cars. Those were always super neat. But the General Lee's a 69, so that's probably still the oldest one. But even though they make all the modern stuff for it to make it very much more desirable and drivable than mine was. So, but I had mine for 18 years.
See, it's funny because he's into the modern stuff on the old cars
Yeah.
to make them more functional.
Oh yeah,
And he and I are like points and drum brake
yeah.
warriors.
Well, and I had.
So you got all different ways to be an
I
old
had,
car guy.
and I was that guy too. I put electronic ignition, but I had 4-wheel drive brakes.
Yeah.
So mine was like a hybrid disaster waiting to happen.
Right.
But yeah, but now that we have fuel injection on the ambulance, I'll never go back with it.
See?
See?
I took out the Holly 850 is probably still laying over there somewhere on the floor, and I'll never go back. So
Now you understand.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, I
John's
passed
the same way.
junkyards full of fuel-injected cars in that 85 Dodge van on the way here and go on the way home.
Throwing candy out the window.
This is a good question right here. I never thought about this before.
Oh yeah.
Mohawk is asking, was the 69 Charger in Death Proof a repurposed car for
No,
another show?
it was a tribute car. Quentin Tarantino was a humongous fan of the Dukes of Hazzard, so we put those were all American Racing Vector wheels on all those. They were repurposed after Death Proof because, of course, they had the big rubber ducky hood on the thing. So everything he did, the license plate was JJZ 109, and that was a tribute to Bullett's license plate. And everything on that was like the duck was from Convoy, and the car was a generally knockoff. But then there was a Drive Angry, like another. What's the guy from Gone in 60 Seconds?
Nick Cage.
There was a Drive Angry thing where
Yeah,
he's driving
Really?
black, matte black 69 Chargers, and guess where those are from?
Yeah.
But they repurposed the Death Proof cars a couple times, but never. They were just eBay bought cars, and they just turned into studio cars.
Interesting.
And then they
Charger from Bullet. Did that thing ever turn?
no, they got well. Everybody thinks it did, but man, those cars were really, really used. It might be out there, but there's no way to tell that it would be. It would be the real car. Like, oh, it has a bunch of holes in it, so they, use camera mounts. Maybe it was the air shocks, or maybe
What about the Volkswagen that was in Bullet that you saw like 12
over and over and over, and then the hubcaps go past
Oh,
it.
yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Like,
Yeah.
it was
But
basically
it's an ND car,
hubcaps.
nondescript car. It may have been somebody that just happened to be driving that day, and there was like somebody that was worked on the set and said, "Hey, can we use your Beetle today?"
Oh.
And so, like, if you worked on the set, they were like, "Hey, just go up to A and then come down to B here, and then around they go back." And then nobody thought that we would be smart enough to see, "Oh, damn, it's you in the same damn red Beetle over and over and over."
And there's some guy somewhere who zoomed in on the 144 potato quality video
Yeah.
and saw the license plate.
Oh yeah.
I want
And
you to
then
stand
called
there.
me and says, "Will you make the plate from the Beetle?" And I'm like, "If we'll sell 300 of them to you, I'll make them." Yeah.
Big Block 402 is asking, you have any info on the
Fall Guy. So that car, that was a super great truck. All of the Dukes of Hazzard people were crossover people on that. Henry Kenji Jr., John Cade was the main stuntman on that. That car, so the jump, if you watch the later episodes, the one that jumps and always lands real nice, that had a mid-engine in it.
Yep.
And so it was set up a little bit better to jump. The Universal, there's two of them from Universal that are still alive. Like Big Red or Wrigley or somebody gave away one. I'm king of like giveaway contests. Like when MTV gave away a Batmobile. If you want to get me on a podcast that I won't shut up on, is MTV contests. Like MTV contests were the greatest freaking contests. P.O. Box, whatever, and they gave away a house right down the street here at John Cougar's Paint the Pink House. That's literally down the street from the house here. So, but needless to say, the Fall Guy stuff was super neat. A lot of crossover stuff, all filmed out there in the same area. That everything looks the same. But then, if you don't know, they're filming a Fall Guy movie right now.
Really?
And Ryan Gosling is the Fall Guy. So the old Fall Guy truck makes an appearance, but there is a brand new 2023 Silverado or whatever that is the Fall Guy truck now too.
You know, when you're saying about that area, you know, a lot of my family grew up in the Saugus.
Oh yeah, Saga
Area.
Speedway and,
Yeah.
and Newhall, Valencia. And all that
Exactly, yeah, Canyon Country.
Yeah.
And so when they had the Saugus Speedway, they did a lot of the Duke stuff there.
stuff. Carnival of Thrills, Knight Rider was at Saga Speedway.
Yeah.
Now it's a swap meet or whatever
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
because the grandstands are condemned.
Yeah.
But the Sammy Hagar I Can't Drive 55 video where it's at Saga Speedway, Carnival of Thrills for Dukes of Hazzard, tons of stuff. But it's all, like I said, us kids that are all, grew up and so you're like, holy shit, that looks familiar.
50-year-old kids.
And 50, yeah, well, and then like TJ Hooker and all that use the same. There's an episode of TJ Hooker, and you can find it out there, and they're like walking up to one of the Hearst Michaels, the hot dog stands, I can't remember what they're called, just talking, but there is Cooter's tow truck towing a damaged General Lee down the road. And they just happened to be filming at the same time because they all filmed in the same area.
Yeah.
And whenever Knight Rider would film it at somewhere, you could see there was an old billboard on the side of Warner Brothers that had a General Lee on the side of the map. And you way in the distance, you'd be like, damn, there's the General Lee. And there's Kid talking there. And, you'd be like, try a little harder. Like just,
But a lot of those canyon areas we used to ride our motorcycles through, and sometimes when they would go racing through some of those areas, we would ride through the same area, and we'd go through these when they had these towns that had facades on them, and so we'd ride our motorcycles right through the facade town.
So Warner Brothers, the Dukes got kicked out of two places before they finally found their home at the Warner Brothers bought a ranch on the old road up in Newhall, and the place got all burnt up in one of the fires here recently, within the last 10 years. But there was a horrific Chevy Chase movie called Nothing But Trouble, and it had Dan Aykroyd and Debbie Moore and Chevy Chase in it. But they all end up in Hazard County, and there was a Odo and Frodo, and they're just the worst mess. But they blew up the front of the boar's nest and everything, and that's how the Warner Brothers Ranch and all the Hazard sites really got destroyed. Was that? Well, it's like, remember Little House on the Prairie? They blew up all the sets on Little House on the Prairie, and
made part of the show.
It was made for part of the show, but they blew up. Knight Rider used the Warner Brothers Ranch as a logging ranch, and they set fire to Uncle Jesse's house.
They
and
burned
stuff
down
like
King
that.
Kong set for Gone with the Wind.
Yeah. So it was all disposable stuff. But yeah, the Fall Guy stuff should be. Ryan Gosling is the Fall Guy now, and it's really not like a disaster. They're actually putting some money into this, and it looks pretty good. They're filming it in Australia right now, so
cool.
That's how they're filming it under the radar. So we're not all chasing around with cell phones because they're like, where are all these Yankees down here like tearing up traffic in Sydney right now?
So
That was a good story.
Yeah.
Quick one here. Big Belly wants to know, how would you know if it's real? I would assume.
Call me.
Yeah.
You can find me
Yeah.
if anybody on Guys Murder says I got a real General Lee. If it doesn't look like shit, it's not real. If it's pretty and shiny, it's somebody
No
made
dice.
it. No dice. I will call you and tell you to look for a certain number somewhere, and if you can't find it or say, well, that was replaced, then I'll give you 3 other spots to look. So,
Or more.
or more,
Or
or
less.
2 other spots to look, or 5 other spots to look.
So do you know how they chose the wheels or the color?
No, so the color was an accident. The wheels were that vector wheel was extremely popular back then. They put it on extra Corvettes. They put it on vans. There may be 80 of them in a barn down on this property right now. So they were, anytime that I see them, I buy them still. When they filmed the Dukes of Hazzard movie in 2005, I was shipping them down to Louisiana like it was my job. We built 17 cars, or I think I don't know. I had nothing to do with it. I was just shipping wheels, but we built enough. We were shipping wheels down there all the time. So yeah, just a fluke. Just kind of went with the vibe. So there was no real whatever.
Colleen, save those questions for a live coming up very soon. I'm surprised between you and Brian, nobody said anything about the orange paper in the background. I guess it's because Buff is listening and not watching. Let's see. What else do we have going on
I saw the
here?
Ghostbusters Afterlife commercial there, or question there.
Yeah.
That was
what
pretty.
that?
Oh, were you instrumental in getting that car?
Oh, that was crazy. We filmed that in 2019. I had to keep my mouth shut for a long time on that thing.
I remember seeing when they released a trailer before.
Yeah, way before COVID,
thing.
and that we had that thing in the can forever. Meaning all we did is supply license plates, but no, I'm not. I would love to build a millimeter, but there are too many hands in the cookie jar, and too many people would love it. I mean, that car doesn't fit in this garage. It's humongous.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, it's
2 of them.
yeah. Yeah.
So there's a question about the Starsky and Hutch Torino.
Yeah, those were cool. They were all at Center Vehicle Services. They had off-road suspension and stuff on them. They were super neat. Let's see, what's it say? Starsky and Hutch Torino. Yes, the ones from Ben Stiller's and Owen Wilson movie. The head stunt driver on that was Corey Eubanks, and Corey and I were friends for years and years and years. His dad was Bob Eubanks for the Newlywed Game, and it was really cool. And he did there's like a scene where they're like on a golf course jumping him down like the 18th hole and over like the sand traps, and those are Torinos with off-road suspension. Like they're super rad. But they were last I saw them was at CVS at Cinema Vehicle Services, but it's been quite some time since then.
Tim is asking, he says he would love to have a real movie license plate from an LAPD Ford Crown Victoria Police
Yeah,
interceptor.
they've got a big E with an octagon around them for an emergency.
Ah,
Like the show Emergency Squad 51, we do all the plates for the LAPD or the Fire Museum for out there. So yeah, you can get them on celebritymachines.com. Ding, it's like
Yep.
add a jingle to my TV.
there they go. So you do produce that tag.
Yeah, we produced it for.
There you go, Tim.
For Emergency Squad 51, and then Adam 12, both of them.
Now, I just moved here from California, and that's a real thing where they have the E.
With the little octagon around
Yeah.
it.
So can they put that on their car because?
Well, I mean, you ask for forgiveness before you ask for permission.
Yeah.
So,
Tim, you just got your answer.
yeah.
You have found the place.
Yeah.
CelebrityMachines.com.
Yeah, and just look for the Squad 51 ones or the Adam 12. They're the same plate. They've got the big E on it.
Yeah, Dakota here thinks that unfortunately the fall guy in this day and time will drive an electric
It
vehicle.
is not. You are right, but the one that they're using for Ryan Gosling's thing is an extra cab long bed Silverado or whatever, the Sierra or whatever the version of it is now. And
That original one was the Sierra.
Yeah.
That was the high end
yeah,
Sierra.
it was a super. I mean, with the little fake door in the side, all that stuff. That was given away on a Juicy Fruit commercial or something. There was one of them. So,
Russell from Outfits Garage, he thinks the guy that worked on the little house took the little house apart and has it in storage. Yes, the little house on the
Little House
prairie.
on the Prairie, probably.
What happened to the house itself? They blew up the town.
They blew up the whole town. So yeah, the house Well, and then of course, the MASH set was easily accessible for years. But yes, they wrote it in. Michael Landon never wanted his set to be used again, so they wrote it into like a bad guy came and like put a tax on the town or something, so they blew up the whole town. Like the last episode of Little House on the Prairie, they blow the whole damn town up.
Here's Buff's asking, what do you think of Video Bob's?
I know Robert pretty good. He's an interesting fella. He's there's a lot of people that could do without hearing my voice, and a lot of people that can do without hearing his voice, but some people are the smartest people they've ever met. So I've been friends with Bob for years, and he makes a lot of cool stuff, and a lot of people that throw stones have never turned a wrench on any of his shit either. So I don't know, it's not a pass on it, but Robert is a neat person. He's lived a very interesting life.
Patrick here, mostly old parts and rust, is asking, who ironically, his car has no rust. It's a beautiful car, but it's mostly old parts and rust.
Yeah.
He's asking, any info on the first-gen Challengers used in the movie In Time?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
That's rad, though. You'll get me talking 80s. Everything's rad to me, so that's.
It's Friday today, right?
Yes,
Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick.
That's Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's going on, dude?
Was he here today, or was he at PRI?
He was at PRI.
Well, why we're 4 miles away. Why aren't you here?
Because
Well,
they
listen.
left earlier.
So see next year, people. We tell you, come on, we'll have us a party.
Oh yeah, there's 4 acres of fun out. Well, 5 acres, but and we got cool neighbors.
There you go. Buff put up the link, celebritymachines.com.
Yeah, that's it.
Really, check it out.
We should have Celebrity Machines, PRI.
You wouldn't get the band back together.
Yeah.
Go-kart race.
Yeah.
Yes, Tim. Check
These
it out.
guys are talking about putting a cart together for the Backyard 400, which was our go-kart race in April. It's ridiculous, and it is probably, you'll need a grinectomy when you're done. You'll be smiling so much. It's
I'm already like that right now, dude. I'm literally like in heaven with all this stuff.
it's so fun.
And we've only seen this. We've only had those spots.
Yeah.
Right. What is there anything that you haven't done or been a part of yet that you'd like to, whether it's in the realm of movies or cars or whatever?
So I'm one of those people that try to fulfill all the childhood dreams. I drove through the mall. I jumped to General Lee. We did all that stuff, but we haven't made it across the country yet in the ambulance, and that's on there. But if we do finish that, then does that mean you have to be an adult? Like, you don't see me racing out to do it. So that is the final, like, if anybody says, God, I wish I could have traveled, I wish I could have done that. If you're listening to my ass, go out and travel and go out and do that. Quit listening to me. I could die today and die happy because every one of my childhood dreams we have checked off except that stupid ambulance. But you don't see me racing out to do it because that means I might have to grow up. I mean,
Never. I don't see that happen.
yeah, everybody that comes here, this is like the fantasy factory for kids our age.
I've been around you for about 2 hours and 42 minutes, and I already know right now that
It's
you'll
fun.
never-
No, it's a blast. We have as much fun as we can.
See, Brian had that idea. He said we can bring our No Name Nationals monkey bikes next year to race on the car track.
You can do like we have the UAS Nationals the night before, and then the Backyard 400. So, and people like, we took what Talladega used to be, and we took what all the infield camping used to be, and all this stuff. And we had campers. I mean, at my Adam will tell you, there are campers and bonfires and shit out, and they, you'd wake up just rubbing the crap out of your eyes, like, what the hell happened? Then you have to race that day, and then they stayed here that night again, and it was just, my email box was like, thank you so much for putting this on, and you just brought a cart and raced it, and there was just pretty strict rules on what you couldn't do, but it was a blast. I mean, we had hundreds of people in the backyard racing go-karts on a paved 1/3 mile track with 12 turns.
To the amusement of most of the neighbors.
Yeah, well, most of the neighbors. It's 50% of the neighbors.
We had good.
Yeah, when your neighbor is the pace kart driver, it's pretty rad. And the pace
I don't
kart
want to
was,
get hurt driving. So.
the pace kart was a 85 Chrysler LeBaron. So
So Jay here is asking,
Yeah.
Jay of Rapid Transit Garage. Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry Charger. You may have
No,
covered
didn't
it.
cover it. It's that car got hurt pretty bad. There was multiple ones, but the one that everybody knows got hit by a train. It's in the opening credits of The Fall Guy. But so yeah, that's if there's any of them out there, I wouldn't know. That's it was a super cool car, super weird ass movie, but super cool car. Well,
Didn't they burn a Nova or something too? To get
yeah, like a
additional
Nova
shot?
Deuce, right?
Yes.
In the shopping or like a
Exactly.
grocery store. So yeah, and a lot of I don't want to say low budget because it had some heavy duty, but I mean if you watch that movie, you're like going, who in the world of acid directed this thing? Like it's like a mess. So but yeah, it's they're out there maybe, but never say never.
If you watch the movie Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, it starts at the grocery store
Yep.
where he commits a robbery, an armed robbery. That's all we'll say. So we don't want to give it away for people who haven't seen this
Sure.
50-year-old movie. But if you go to Lakeview, Oregon, there's a town there, and they have a grocery store that looks just like it. Looks like Mike Brady, the Brady Bunch, designed this contemporary grocery
Yeah.
store, and it's the everything store. So when you walk in, there's food over here, there's hardware and ammo over here, and it's the everything. There's 2 hours from a Walmart there, but I can't believe how much of that. If you were ever going to remake that movie, that's where
That's
you would
where you-
shoot
well,
it right there.
There's an old crappy Kroger. We have Kroger grocery stores here, and you guys will see. Some people have Food Lion, some people have all this other. We have Kroger's, and there's one at 63rd and Guilford, and we call it the Moscow Kroger because it looks like it's from the Soviet Union. Like no, it's got the wood paneling that says produce, and we're like, who the hell would eat anything out of this place? But if you call anyone in Indianapolis right now and say, "Tell me where the Moscow Kroger is," they're going to say it's at 63rd and Guilford because it's a quality shithole up there. So
That's
quality
great.
with a K.
It's great. I don't know. I'm not the only one that nicknames different stores.
Oh, I do. Well, and we call it the K Rogers.
Yes.
That's got the big K, and it says, "Let's get it." Well, my daughter's 27, and she thought Bob and Evans were two people, and I'm like, it's Bob Evans. So still to this day,
We should have stock in Bob Evans.
Bob
Yeah.
Every night we've been in town.
I've never been to Bob Evans.
Yeah.
I'm from Southern California. I've
Yeah.
never even heard of it. You
Yeah.
know?
That's good.
Yeah. Well, and then everybody comes to your guys is like, let's go to In-N-Out Burger. You're like, yeah, right. So yeah.
You just got a Whataburger.
Yeah, one-eyed cat Don there has a Kroger card. He uses it once a year when he goes.
There you go.
Yeah.
The fresh idea card, or
There
whatever
you
they call it.
Something like
Something like that. Get your Kroger points, get your 3 cents off diesel.
Kroger used to have the freshness guarantee. You remember that?
Oh yeah,
And my uncle was the master of the freshness guarantee.
I'm sure.
He would go to Nashville, and there were 5 Kroger in a certain radius. Yes,
Get out
And
of
he-
Dodge. Kroger
I
Plus
had one
card.
too.
That's what it's called.
I had one too.
Yeah.
He would hit five Nashville Kroger right
Sure.
after midnight when the dates changed,
Right.
and he would go get the beef or the
Oh,
fish
sure,
or the
yeah.
milk or whatever that was out of date, and he would
Sure.
get the one that's in date, and he would push 2 carts up there, and then the employee had never seen that before, and they
Yeah.
would get a manager, and they'd make phone at 1 a.m, make
Right.
phone calls, and you can't do that anyway. At the end of the day, he always walked out of there with $500 in free
Oh,
in-date
sure.
meat because he
Well,
did
and
the
then
freshness
For
guarantee.
you guys that have been in this shop for 2 hours, like no one said anything about the fake leg, prosthetic leg up there that's on house arrest that's hanging above the thing. So, and there's a 6-foot submarine sandwich up there too. So there's, yeah, if you stand up,
it's above the.
it's above the Toyota. There's a prosthetic leg up there on house arrest. Like this, there's so much ridiculous stuff. What do you see up there?
There's a prosthetic leg on house run.
That's right.
That's a big sandwich.
Yeah, and there's a 6-foot sub. I mean, this like there's so many goofy things, but I mean, I always tell people, I mean, even though sometimes you wake up and feel like shit, you're only as old as you feel, and if you don't live, it's not that life's too short. That always drove me crazy. It's that you're just dead too long. And it's, you know, Abraham Lincoln's still dead, you know, I mean, you know, if so, I always tell everybody just live life like it's your last day on it. And I'd die happy today with all you ugly motherfuckers.
Make the days count.
Yeah, I've said, Adam knows, like everybody always wants me to give their eulogy because I make up some bullshit, man. I would be like, yeah, and then Adam, the neighbor, was a great guy when he cured cancer, and then he whatever, and I'm like, oh, Adam's in his coffin going, "Shut up, Graham."
But you got to ride the Schwinn.
Yeah. I got to ride there. But yeah,
I've got two things in my studio that are behind me on every line.
yeah,
One of them is the orange paper,
yeah,
and the other is a sign that says "Doing is greater than dreaming."
yeah.
Because the orange paper is how many days we have to make our goals, right?
Yeah,
That's what it's
sure.
all about.
Yeah.
And doing is greater than dreaming is it's better to actually do something than talk about doing it for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys that come to our events and stuff, they get that,
Sure.
But I think that this is, you get it too.
Oh, we get it. And
Yeah.
I'm one of those idiots, like I said, that believe cars have souls, and the one that'll start in the snow or the one that'll, whatever you can pull out of a field and go. But yeah, it's good.
No, we got a complete blasphemy being committed by some of our commenters.
Sure.
Dust Devil says sweet cornbread is good.
Yeah.
Danny Boyd says love sweet cornbread. No, you guys are wrong. That is no. Sweet cornbread is on my list of things that should never have been invented.
Yeah.
No
It's right there with
self-respecting
pineapple on
Southerner.
pizza.
No self-respecting
I like
Southerner
Pineapple on
eats
pizza. Pineapple on
sweet
pizza's not
cornbread.
bad. Sweet cornbread's below average.
Am I the only Southerner in this room?
What's that? Southerner in the room?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
Southern
no.
California.
Adam lived in Atlanta for a minute. So does that
And you
make
didn't have sweet cornbread either. Not real sweet cornbread.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
what's
You're not
that?
supposed to.
Yeah.
Cornbread.
What's the
What's
cornbread?
sweet cornbread?
And he
Yeah, what is
married
cornbread?
a country girl too.
Right.
But all right, so you can tell what time it is by when the train goes by if you can hear the train.
Well,
Train
there's a
back
train?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is
Yeah,
it?
no, there's
I'm
a
gonna
train.
be quiet
There's
'cause I
that
haven't
2
made it.
acres out the back of this. You can hear it. There's
Yeah, the train keeps people off your property.
it'll honk one more time. Not my first day living here. So yeah.
And then one more long one. Let's
Yeah.
go through
Well,
the
it's going through the intersection there. It went.
I know trains.
Yeah.
2 longs, 1 short, 1 long.
Yeah, or when it starts and then starts to pull away. So yeah, we have a train at the end of the property, which allows us to get away with everything at the furthest end of the property that we can.
Buff
That's-
says cars do have soul.
Yeah, they sure do.
They sure do.
They
I
sure do.
agree.
Or you can get in some of them completely blindfolded and smell it and know which car you're in.
Absolutely.
So that's why all these video games are around here. There's 10 of them total here, and you can go in the basement where the arcade is, turn them all on, let them do their attract noise, like prepare to qualify and all that stuff and then close your eyes and you're at Aladdin's castle or Fun and Games or whatever.
Yellow brick road for
Yeah.
me, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so then you know
Yes.
exactly where you are, and you're now 10 years old again. Because, granted, we may get drastically older, but the generally still looks the same. The games still sound the same, and if you just let go of the past, then you'll never make it to the future. And I'm not that guy. So
I just went back in time with Galaga here.
yeah,
That was me at Pizza Hut in San
and so
Diego. When I was a kid,
Spy Hunter was in my Kroger. Pole position was at Noble Roman's Pizza here. And so all of these games you associate with where you, the Ivan Stewart off-road game was at the skate park, was at In Orbit Skate Park. So, we do all that stuff too.
And the one that really trips me out is the WWF.
WWF
Yes.
Superstars was.
Yes.
I had to find that in the correct cabinet because most people like take a Defender and turn it into a WWF. But I'm one of them purist idiots too. So that's why that Toyota has a soul. This purple car was abandoned at a Volkswagen dealership. They only made about 20 of them. Why do I have the world's most expensive Chevy Lumina? Because it has my city's name on it. And my parents both went to Speedway High School. So
Wendy sees the orange paper. She sees something, wants to change it. Nope, not yet. Coming soon.
yeah.
Well, wait a second. There's a little
There's
writing
something
on
written
there.
on it. They just
Ah,
read it.
yeah, that's okay. If you guys consume it
Well, that's
enough,
why I got my readers on
there's
because I was
something on
like,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
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 Oh, well, maybe that's just brake fluid from the Toyota.
What? Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't see anything.
Big Belly wants stuff. There's any real General Lees in Canada?
No, there's a lot of good replicas. I don't really know if any of the 17 have graduated to Canada, the documented cars. So
Well, now here's this is interesting. Brinker here says, I'm not sure if all cars have souls, but I think you could put a soul into a car that doesn't have one.
well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
You know,
That's pretty deep, Brian.
have you ever been in a junkyard and the radio been on in the car in the junkyard, whatever, and you're like going, this car is total 10 wasted Sunday, but what's the radio doing on it? And
That's
so, yeah, but
Buff was a Spy Hunter fan.
Love it. I played.
Yep.
I have a Spy Hunter in the house. I have a Tron in the house. Donkey Kong,
Dude, you
Pac-Man.
would love this arcade we got in our town. It's
Yeah.
called Flashback Arcade.
Sure.
I take my kids there. It's like $10.
$10 and play all the games you can.
right?
Yeah.
Really?
And as soon
Where
as
is
I
that?
We'll go next time. You
Yeah, I was gonna say
We have
that.
one in Memphis.
My
Yeah.
kids
Well, why-
love it
yeah.
because you walk in and it's literally like the 1980s
Yeah.
in your face.
Yeah.
Because it'll have
So-
Gotta go
every
there.
machine.
I have to go there.
So-
Every machine.
So you guys found out I'm a disc jockey. So I retired from the. I played clubs for 26 years. I played Dancing Queen more than ABBA has ever sang Dancing Queen. But if you go to, so I retired from clubs, but I play on the 80s cruise. So I get to now play with all the bands I've wanted to see my whole life, and they pay me to be there. So if you go to the 80scruise.com, and this year we have Devo and Bret Michaels and a bunch of different, and we're going out of LA. We go out of LA this year, but I'm the disc jockey on the 80s cruise. So when they retired, like, oh, you had this great gig for 26 years, you played all these places. Now I get to play with the bands I've always wanted to see my whole life. So it's
cool.
I still play Dancing Queen,
All right,
but
guys.
not on
Let's do
the
that.
80s cruise anymore. Yeah, Joust was a terrific game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dragon Slayer. You can the little arcade one ups that they sell at Walmart or whatever that they have Dragon Slayer on that out now. So yeah, it's super rad.
Very cool. Anybody have any last questions? We've got a little bit of time left, and then we'll call it a night
Yeah.
here on the live.
Generally speaking, what was your generally question?
So I've done, since I moved to Tennessee, there's
Yeah.
a place called Cooters.
Cooter's
whatever,
Garage,
they
Ben-
have
Ben
general
Jones.
leads.
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
No. With
Like,
yeah, no, they're not. We can. Ben Jones is a politician, and he was a U.S. congressman in Georgia, and he got beat by Newt Gingrich, and Newt Gingrich's slogan was "Neuter Cooter."
Wow.
So Ben Jones is kept the Dukes of Hazzard alive, and he still has a lot of Dukes of Hazzard themed stores in both Gatlinburg and where
Pigeon Forge.
Pigeon Forge has one. There was one in Sperryville, Virginia, but good for him.
John Cook met his wife at the game room in Calumet City,
Yeah.
Illinois.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is the biggest transgression on a car that you see? I know what
What do you mean?
Well, you say it's their car; they can do what they want. His
Yes.
car.
Yeah.
I get that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. But just say you're the king of the rules for the day, and you see something, just make sure.
Oh, that makes your
yes.
blood boil.
Yes.
The
What would that
911
be?
wheel tail.
Oh no! If you have now.
You didn't have words for it.
Yeah, so everybody has their phones, right?
Yeah.
So just let's see.
All right.
Go to your screen where you can dial, and dial 1 for yes and 2 for no. Okay.
Go to where?
Just a dial.
Like
Like
that.
you can dial 1 for yes or 2 for no. Okay. And see how 1 is yes. If the modern Mopars, the Challengers, the Chargers, whatever else, if the stupid yellow bananas on the front of the damn things that are the curb protector things drive you nuts because they're supposed to take them damn things off before they ship the cars, and they're like, oh no, they're butt protectors. If you believe they're supposed to be there, dial 1. If they're not supposed to be there, dial 2. Or if they drive you bananas, dial 1 or 2. But my biggest pet peeve currently, because I was a Mopar guy forever, I had SRT8 Challenge or Magnum and everything, and all my vehicles. But my pet peeve right now, and you can go to any Cruise In or Pigeon Forge's Rod Run or whatever else.
The thing keeps getting scraped on the transmission.
They're not supposed to be on the damn cars. If you have a purple car, you're not supposed to drive. That's my biggest pet
Yeah.
peeve.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not a fashion accessory.
Yeah, they have on the rental cars. They're supposed to take, and when you take them off, it's printed on there. It says this is supposed to be
It says,
removed.
it says please
Remove it,
remove
the
it.
dealer.
Remove it. Yeah, but then everybody's driving around with the damn
I saw
bananas
some
on it.
the other day on
Yeah, we always take them off. Turbo Tom, thank you. They have to be. They drive me. So if we all end up at Rod Run this year, we need a sign that says, "Oh, go fly a kite. If they need a sign that says bananas. I mean, it's not Mario Brothers. Take the damn bananas off the Mopars.
Mohawk says, I was told they tell you it's
Yeah, no, they were on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just didn't matter. Yeah,
If they were body colored, that wouldn't bother me that much. But when they PDR the cars when they come in or whatever off that they're supposed to take the damn things off.
You know who leaves those on? The people who leave the plastic over the screen on
Yeah,
everything
I mean,
they
come
buy from
on.
Yeah.
Those
or
people.
put plastic on your couch.
I
Let's
have-
take the bananas off the Mopars. That's my only current pet peeve. Like the electric Mustang I don't give a damn about that. We're all on a road to live the electric nightmare. But
Not
the
all.
currently, well, there's us kids. I think by the time we're all dead, that we'll still be driving gas cars, but they'll be few and far between because they'll be rotating toward the electric nightmare. But there's really nothing we can do. But yes, I'm not a big fan of the bananas because when you take them off, they both look like bananas. Yep. And we can go to Pigeon Forge Rod Run and just like make a count. Because whenever you do the hot rod power crawl, because you're only doing 2 miles an hour the whole damn time you're on the thing. You always have like the one wet kid on the side of the country road with their spraying the pavements like burnout zone or whatever else. You pull up the one kid that would make my dad says like bananas, number of bananas I've seen today or something. It's not Mario Kart. Take the bananas off. So that's my only thing. That's my only current pet peeve.
I agree with you.
Chryslers.
I had a friend that built a kitchen and real nice living quarters in his shop. And he put in real nice cabinets and everything, stainless, ceiling height refrigerator.
Sure.
And stainless. And he leaves the plastic on the front and lives with it like that.
Oh,
Yeah, and Dean likes the bananas. It's fine.
I'd rather scratch my refrigerator than do this nasty,
Right. I mean,
dirty
like
plastic
these
wrinkled
gorgeous
around the
cars
handles.
with these
Yes.
Mopars always had the best paint, like whatever. And then you got these yellow bananas in the front of your car. But my dumbass has a big bright green car here with red brakes on it, and I'm not a big fan of that either. So, yeah, it's a Christmas car, folks. But
Well, guys, we're at our time, and we've had a good time. At least I
Yeah.
have learned a lot of good stuff,
absolutely.
and we'd love to have you back on.
well, I mean, why don't you guys just come back next year? So,
Oh, yeah,
well,
yeah.
remember we already said if you don't come back next year, you're not allowed to leave.
Why
Right.
don't y'all come
We'll-
to the fall rod run?
Yeah.
Spring rod
We
run.
got stuff to do.
Yeah.
We got stuff to do.
Then we got don't forget the backyard 400 if you guys build a cart, and that's in April.
When we build a car, I'm building one regardless if they do it.
Yeah, and there's plenty of rules. It's fun, and I don't know what else. I'll be in VinWiki at the end of the month, only because I haven't been on all year.
What is
And
that?
so VinWiki is car stories, exactly what we're doing.
Oh,
But a lot of them are more high end car stories or whatever else, and I'm the kind of idiot that keeps them all grounded. So I have no reason to be friends with them, but I'm just crazy enough to be their friend. That's what Brock Yates always told me. So I'm just crazy enough to be his friend. So.
See, they think I only have Mopar friends.
But I'm
That's
a
not
Mopar. I mean, even though we're surrounded by the most ridiculous shit, like there's not one Mopar in here.
Right.
There are 3 at the south end, and I own the world's fastest ambulance if it ever gets out the driveway. So, but the driveway is an acre long. Like it's
you can
it's,
speed up a little bit.
yeah, if it gets a good headwind on it. So, but yeah, that's it. Welcome to Indy, and hope you come back.
All right, guys.
Thanks very
Well,
much.
thanks for coming to the chat. I want to thank the mods for doing our jobs. In fact, Jeff was here modding on his phone while watching this, modding real time. That was pretty cool, multitasker there. So I want to thank everybody. Got some good guests coming up here on the show soon. So check back because we're getting more into our regular thing. I gave it about a month off. We did some freewheeling lives after the No Name Nationals. But as you can see, there's an orange paper in the background. If you can really zoom in, it's got something written on it. So look for more info from Dallas and I really soon on that. So anyway, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for joining us.
I like to call that fourth dimension moderating.